Champions currently Denver winning, and huge lead, 30-0. The Raiders are starting this game having to catch the Broncos, and down at the bottom you see Seattle, despite the fact, or San Diego, despite the fact they have a winning record overall, 0-3 in this highly competitive Western Division of the American Football Conference. The Chargers and the Raiders, they played earlier at the Coliseum. That score was 33-30 Raiders. Chris Barr kicks it off. Buford McGee at the other end for San Diego at the 8. McGee saw some daylight and is cut down at the 30-yard line. And saving a possible long gainer, number 29 for the Raiders, Jimmy Smith. And Fouts, the quarterback, Ernest Jackson, who had a big night against the Raiders, ran for over 150 yards in game one. Charlie Joyner and the rest of the crew for the San Diego Chargers. Fouts with the two tight ends, the lone running back Jackson. Wes Chandler is to the left, Charlie Joyner to the right. From the 29, that's Eric Sievers in motion. Fouts under pressure, that is a loose ball and covered by Jackson. That was a lateral pass, a backward pass, and a free ball, and Lyle Alzado covered for the Los Angeles Raiders. A very dangerous play by Fouts.
Play by Alzado initially, and the question would be, is he in the grass? Rod Martin from the backside right there. Clamped on him, but they said he got the pass away, so they'll go back to the spot that it was covered by Ernest Jackson.
Long, Kinlow, and Alzado, the front three, with Barnes, Millen, Nelson, and Martin, the linebackers. Great defensive secondary. Hayes and Haynes in the corners. Davis and McElroy. The give to Jackson, and he runs into a crowd of white jerseys, breaks out, and then is hammered by Van McElroy, who came up quickly from his safety spot.
Dick, this is exactly what the Chargers did not want to find themselves in. Long yardage situations. They want their offense on the field today, not their defense. And in order to do that, they must control the football. They must run in particular. And they certainly have not done that yet.
5 defensive backs, and of course that's the defensive set that the Raiders enjoy, with Otis McKinney coming in as that nickel back. 3 wide receivers to the left with Winslow, Joyner, and Chandler. Good protection for Fouts down the middle. Leaping catch. McElroy covers Jesse Vendros, the rookie from Alabama, his first catch in the National Football League. So Vendros, a 7th-round draft pick, finds an opening and a first down.
Jesse Vendros. They've got 4 wide receivers in there, and Vendros is the man that they're looking for, number 86. Great chance for Dan Fouts to pick up the first down. He does it right here. You see Vendros streaking down the middle, right about the 40-yard line. Just a beautiful catch by Vendros.
29 yards and a first down. That's Chandler in motion from the 44. Fouts. Open, Winslow, and he's at the Raider 37. Matt Millen made the tackle. And Merlin, we may look back in this game to that 3rd down play. Fouts in a hole early. The Raiders putting the defensive pressure on, and he finds the rookie Vendros to extricate himself from trouble.
Certainly when you look at 4 wide receivers initially, defensively, you've got to pick the most dangerous. And the 2 names that hit you quickly are Joyner and Chandler. Vendros is the man that caught the ball.
So Fouts, hitting on his last 2 throws, has a first down at the Raider 38. Interesting counter to Ernest Jackson. Jackson lined up directly behind the quarterback, and a direct toss. It gave the look of going right, and then Jackson knifing back to the weak side. Good yardage near the 31 before Millen can make the hit.
Little counter on that play. Matt Millen furious, saying he was held on that play by the offensive lineman. But that's the kind of positive yardage that the Chargers need to control the football. That puts them in 2nd and short, and in that situation, they have all the options.
Dan Fouts moving on the all-time list of passers in the NFL. Another first down to Winslow, hit at the 20-yard line by Bob Nelson. And Fouts, with his completions in this quarter, has now moved past Sonny Jurgensen and is the number 5 passer in history in the NFL in passing yardage. 11 on that throw.
Fouts dropping quickly. This is a timing pattern. Back, sets, and fires. And Winslow, having just broken off on the corner, left Bob Nelson, number 51, behind, able to suck that football in. Another big first down on the 20-yard line.
Winslow lines up on the right side. Jackson on the draw has about 4. Ernest Jackson, who starts today, number 2 in the American Conference behind the Jets' Freeman McNeil. Jackson has 544 yards rushing. There's Fouts. He has moved past Sonny Jurgensen. He has over 32,000 yards. Well, there you see 32,255. Tarkenton, Unitas, Hart, Hadel, Tittle, and now Dan Fouts. And Fouts has done it in a hurry. He's a relatively young 33 years of age.
One of many records that he has written, and he's climbing rapidly.
He looks at 5 defensive backs, 2nd down and 7. In trouble. Oops. There's interference on Lester Hayes. He used the left hand to push off on Charlie Joyner.
And if you ever saw a veteran in action on that play, it was Joyner. Joyner actually made a move for that football well before the ball arrived, and I think suckered Lester Hayes into bumping into it.
Well, Bill Walsh, the head man of the 49ers, says that Joyner is the most intelligent receiver he's ever seen in the game.
37 defense.
There you saw the play, right at the end. No question about it, but I'm sure that Joyner literally suckered Lester Hayes on that play, started reaching for that ball long before it arrived.
12 yards on the penalty, 1st and goal at the 6-yard line. Jackson. Ernest Jackson has a touchdown. The 6th rushing touchdown for Jackson this year, and the Chargers seemingly in trouble early, and then Dan Fouts loosening up that right arm, and he marched them in a hurry.
A great matchup of talent, the number 1 passing offense in the NFL against the number 1 passing defense in the NFL. But it's the running game that the Chargers need to have today to control the football, and Jackson, with that explosive style of running, right there exploding into the end zone. That's great.
Benny Ricardo for Rolf Bernurska. Bernurska had a kidney stone operation, so he's on the sidelines today and probably won't play for a week or 2 more. Ricardo signed a week ago. Former San Diego State star. He hits the extra point.
You see how quickly Jackson is capable of exploding. He's very rapid, getting to the hole, and then uses his power. Got a little help from one of his blockers there, who literally threw him into the end zone. The officials can call that illegal. Let's take another peek at that. I could not tell which of the blockers. I think that's one of the wide receivers that actually is helping. No, it's, well, there he is, Eric Sievers. 85, look at him. He threw him into the end zone.
He was just directing him this way.
Like a projectile. Jackson rolling over and over in the end zone. Absolutely illegal.
That was an interesting drive by the Chargers. 8 plays, the first 2 of which were a -12 and a -1, and then they got hot. 29-yard pass to Bendros, 17-yard throw to Winslow. Jackson, 7-yard run, 11 more yards to Winslow. 3 for Jackson, the penalty, and then Jackson completes the 5-minute 44-second march with a 5-yard touchdown.
That is perhaps the most significant number there. They have to keep the Raider offense off the field, their own defense on the bench if possible. And when you can drive the ball the length of the field, eat up almost 6 minutes off that clock, then you have offensive control.
So the Raiders will get the ball for the first time. The Raiders' only loss this year was at Denver, 16-13 a few weeks ago, and they'll meet Denver next week. And the Broncos are hot, 30-0, winning at Buffalo late. Clee Montgomery, 15-20. And he's out across the 30 to the 31-yard line. The veteran Montgomery.
Clee Montgomery took the kickoff on the 6-yard
Mark
line.
Wilson for the injured Jim Plunkett, out of uniform but on the Raider sideline today. Marcus Allen, leading touchdown maker in the league. Kenny King with him. Cliff Branch and the other wide receivers, and there's the offensive line.
31-yard line. First and 10 Raiders.
First down at the 31. Christensen, the leading pass catcher rusher in the league last year, and he's 10 behind Winslow, who leads the NFL at this point this season. That was Christensen's 38th of the year, 7 yards in the play. Defense, Ian Guthrie, Keith Guthrie, a rookie, is starting on the nose. He's from Texas A&M. Ferguson, perhaps the best pass rusher. King, Green, Smith, and Lowe are the linebackers. Bird, Turner, Green, and Fox. We'll be talking about the secondary. They've been hammered by injuries.
Run!
Marcus Allen. He has the first down and more to the 45-yard line. So first down for the Raiders at their 45, 7-0 San Diego. We go to New York.
All right, Dick, thanks very much. The Jets wasting little time striking first against the Chiefs on their initial possession. Flea flicker. Johnny Hector throws back to Pat Ryan into the end zone for Bobby Humphrey. The play covers 44 yards, and the Jets lead the Chiefs 7-0 in the first, Dick.
All right, Bob. There's Jim Plunkett as he watches his counterpart, Mark Wilson, set the line with a first down at the Raider 45. Oops, a little movement by number 79, Bruce Davis, on the Raider line, and Ferguson charges in. It's interesting that Johnny Hector was involved in that Jets flea flicker play. Hector was the number 2 pick out of Texas A&M, and Ernest Jackson was kind of hidden on that same backfield. He was more of a blocker, and the Chargers took a chance on Jackson in the 8th round, and what a pick that became.
Well, he didn't get much action here last year, but they certainly have found a hero this year in Jackson, and he was not the man they were looking for. They were looking for Muncie and Johnson ahead of him.
Branch to the left, and Wilson looking that direction, throws underneath to Marcus Allen, and he's to the 49 of San Diego, a pickup of 11. It'll be second down and 4.
Now, that's the bad news right there. The amount of time that Mark Wilson had to throw the football. They're rushing 3 people. And when you have as many injuries in the secondary as the Chargers have, what they're probably going to have to do today is try and keep everything in front of them. Hope that the Raiders are going to make some mistakes offensively. Well, so far, Mark Wilson moving effectively with that Raider offense downfield.
You saw Allen, the leading receiver among running backs again this year. Kenny King is just shy of the first down, and a flag goes down. Allen's catch was his 35th. King from Oklahoma, short yardage. They're going to bring that one back with a penalty. And these two teams have seen that yellow flag aplenty this year. Last week, both were penalized over 100 yards in the first half.
Well, and the Raiders with 16 penalties last week and 14 the week before. 30 penalties the last 2 weeks.
Illegal use of hands, 72, offense, second down.
Penalty against Don Mospar. We welcome those of you who have watched the Miami Dolphins go to 8-0 on this young season. They win at New England 44-24. We understand Dan Marino, 3 more touchdown passes, 23 touchdown throws for Marino in 8 games. Here at 7-0 San Diego, Mark Wilson underneath the Cliff Branch. Wrapped up at the 47-yard line of San Diego, shy of a first down, 12 yards for the veteran Branch on his 20th catch this year as he approaches the 500 receiving mark. He needs about 6 more.
That's something we're going to see a lot of today, Dick Enberg. Deep patterns by the wide receivers. They know they're going to have time to throw the football. They like to run them deep anyway.
Redskins in St. Louis in quite a battle at Busch Stadium, St. Louis. 1-point lead for Washington. Wilson looking for first down yardage. He's got Branch, and out of bounds at the 40 with a first down. The nimble Cliff Branch at 36 years of age. We have quite a story here. Cliff Branch at 36, Charlie Joyner at 37. Between them, they have well over 1,000 catches. 2 of the great men, players at their position. They both started with speed. Branch never lost his, and now Joyner, they're calling him a possession man.
Branch runs those possession-type patterns well himself and might be making that same transition in the Raider system today.
First down at the 40. Wilson looking long, and he's going toward the end zone for Branch. And it is almost intercepted.
I think we have offensive interference
on Branch, and it's a rare call. You usually won't see that if indeed that was the reason for the flag.
Well, the defender has every right to that football when it comes in there, and it looked like the receiver went after his head on that play and kept him from catching the football. The official right on the spot threw the flag.
Veteran Timmy Fox was the man who had his eyes on the interception.
Pass interference. Number 21 offense. First down.
We'll take a quick peek at John Turner as he plays on Branch on the inside. Look how much ground he's giving. They're trying to keep everything in front of them. Branch, using his speed, blows by. Now Fox is the center fielder. You'll see him right there. Now watch Branch going up and hitting him just before the football arrived. Now the defender has every right to that football. The official called offensive interference.
Reversal of roles there. Fox was the man going for the ball. Here's Wilson on the roll. And he ducks to safety at the 40-yard line.
Mark Wilson.
Bill Elko, 68, in pursuit. Elko from LSU, the nephew of Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Kush. Denver 37-0. That Bronco defense tough again, and Seattle has a 6-point lead late at Milwaukee against the Packers.
These AFC West teams continue to dominate.
All field goals, 3 aside, the Browns and Bengals. Detroit down 14-0, rallied to beat Minnesota 16-14. Was at Minneapolis. Wilson all day to throw, and it was near Marcus Allen. Lyndon King, 57, paying his hello, saying, "Welcome back to San Diego, Marcus." Of course, Allen grew up here and attended Lincoln High School in this city.
Mark Wilson last week in a full game of starting. Of course, he replaced Plunkett because of the injury the week before. Threw a couple of passes that he referred to as real doozies. Nobody knew exactly where they were going. That might fall into the same category. That one looked like it was not well thrown.
Raiders have moved the ball well, but their own worst enemy. 3 penalties on this possession, and they have 3rd down 11 at the San Diego 41. Chargers lead 7-0. Wilson. Incomplete to Christensen as the play was made by Lyndon King.
The San Diego defense tested here, benefiting from some penalties, but they made the play here. There's Christensen coming across, King slipping right in behind him and stripping him of the football. You see the timing, so essential for the defensive backs and linebackers. Lyndon King just reached in and knocked that football away.
Ray Guy, another salad of the year. His numbers on the season.
He really had a scare a couple of weeks ago, Dick. He thought his leg had gone down.
Ooh, bad snap, but Guy controlled it. What a terrific athlete he is. And look at that kick. It's going to be down at the 1-yard line. Oh, my. Under pressure, a bad snap, and Guy just parachutes that one down as perfectly as if he'd run down there and laid it on the one himself.
The big play by Derek Jensen, number 31, special teams captain, who brushed that football back right at the end of the play. Let's watch the whole play. Look at how active Guy has to be and how quickly he gets that ball away. Now you see Derek Jensen right in the middle of your screen. Watch him. He'll go down. He sees that football going into the end zone, just brushes it back, and they're able to down it inside of the 2-yard line. Incredible play by the special teams of the Los Angeles Raiders.
So Fouts, who directed his team on a 71-yard march on their opening possession for a touchdown, starts at his own 1, and he'll throw from the end zone. Intercepted! Right in the arms of Mike Davis, intended for Pete Holohan. Davis gives the Raiders the ball on the Charger 14.
Fouts put that football behind Holohan, who was almost trying to shield Davis away with his body. Davis got his hands on that football, did a good job of like a basketball player out there. He's big and strong for a safety, an unusual safety. He was pushing Holohan almost as well as Holohan was moving with him, and that is a bad turnover for these two teams. At least it's bad for the Chargers. They didn't want their defense back out on the field. They wanted to drive it down again as they had with the opening drive.
So a golden chance for the Raiders. Frank Hawkins joins Marcus Allen in the backfield. This is Allen. Oh, clever running by Allen to gain 4. Allen's average this year is only 3.5 yards a carry, but so productive. 7 touchdowns, rushing, 2 more pass receiving. His 9 lead the NFL, and has scored 35 touchdowns in his 31 NFL games. Updating St. Louis on a field goal. Takes a 2-point lead against the Redskins at home. Branch and Barnwell left. Barnwell in motion on 2nd and 6. Wilson, lots of time. Wide open is Allen. Make it 10. 10 touchdowns for Marcus. It was 10 yards in the open.
Just too much speed for number 28, Ken Green, and that's one of the reasons that Marcus is so tough. He can go in there. You have the 2 offensive backs in there, and yet what they did with him is they just slipped him up into the wing formation, right up next to the line. That means he gets into the secondary very quickly. Just a little foot fake, and using his acceleration, look how much room he got on Ken Green. Green didn't have a chance on that play.
36 touchdowns in 32 games. Talk about a money hitter. Tried for point by Barr, and he hooks that one, but it stays on the right side for the Raiders, and it's 7-all. The comments by Barr after his game winner last week were interesting. Here's the replay of the Wilson to Allen shot.
They call this acceleration as you break away. Look how Marcus had opened that space between himself and the defensive back. If you're a defensive back, you want to close on the receiver, and if you're a receiver in that situation, you want to accelerate and get away from those defenders. Exactly what Marcus Allen was able to do.
Chris Barr, back to the field goal specialist last week in the game against Minnesota. It was 20-all in the final play of the game. Barr went in for a relatively easy 20-yard field goal attempt, not much more than an extra point. He barely got it inside the upright and barely over the crossbar, and later said, I made it by a solid inch. I kicked it through by a solid inch.
The other thing he said is, we've got to quit doing this. It's awfully hard on my mother. We've got to start playing better. Dick, he has won 5 games in the last 2 years with final field goals, so he has done pretty well.
Speaking of field goals, Cincinnati 4-3 over Cleveland to win it 12-9. And that was his brother Matt Barr kicking the 3 for the Browns. By the way, in that game, Steve Cox kicked a 60-yard field goal, second longest in NFL history for the Browns. Actually, then Barr kicking only 2. He kicked the short ones. Lionel James advised to take the touchback.
Dick, one of the things we're going to see in this game, when you have injuries like the Chargers do, very often they show up in the way your special teams play, because you have to move people onto the starting lineup. You have to retrain new people, new faces in the defensive lineup and on the special teams.
With Merlin Olsen, Dick Enberg. Welcome you folks who saw Seattle win again as they came from behind to defeat Green Bay at Milwaukee. Here in San Diego, the Raiders and Chargers are tied at 7. Raiders have just tied it up on a short 14-yard march after a pass interception. Fouts to throw. Dumps it to Jackson. Ernest Jackson, who scored the Charger touchdown on a 5-yard run, is down, and so is a flag.
Flag down well into the secondary. Quite possibly an illegal bump. That's a holding call against the Raider defense. Very physical defense that the Raiders play, and that often means bumping and holding in the areas that they're not allowed. Of course, the defenders are allowed to take those initial shots inside
Holding,
5 yards.
56 defense, first down.
The call against Jeff Barnes, the Raider linebacker. We welcome those of you who have seen the battle of field goals in Cincinnati. The Bengals outkicking Cleveland 12-9. Pleased to note, no field goals here. We've got a couple of touchdowns and a 7-all score. First quarter, 6:04 remaining in the period. 1st and 5 for Fouts and the Chargers at their 25. Ernest Jackson tripped up after a 2-yard pickup. Matt Millen got him. Just to recap the scoring, opening series. Well, first we have another final for you. St. Louis defeating the Washington Redskins 26-24. It's a big win for the Cardinals as the Redskins had momentum, a 5-game winning streak snapped there. Chargers scored on their first possession, a 71-yard drive. Jackson scoring from 5 yards out, but then Fouts threw an interception. Mike Davis picked it off at the Charger 14. 2 plays later, Mark Wilson to Marcus Allen tied it at 7-0. That's where we stand. 2nd and 3, a draw to Jackson, running room, 30, 35, and he's all the way to the 40-yard line before McElroy can corral him.
Ernest Jackson is a very effective runner in that situation. The Raiders expecting a pass, and they're coming hard. The secret to a draw is to make it look like a pass play. And then the explosion right there. Look how quickly Jackson is past the line of scrimmage. Those defensive linemen had no chance to react to him. He's well upfield and has a first down. That's a good choice of plays.
13 yards for Jackson. Full blitz. Fouts has time. Throws long. And almost intercepted by Lester Hayes. Intended for Wes Chandler.
Almost like a dance downfield between Chandler and Hayes. You see the shot right there. Hayes trying to break Chandler's rhythm. Now Chandler sees the ball, tries to come behind Hayes, who gives him a little bump, and then it's Hayes who almost reacts quickly enough to catch that football. That would have been a remarkable interception.
The amazing athletic talent of the NFL cornerbacks to be able to cover a man who knows where he's going. You don't. Usually a guy with 9.3, 9.4 speed.
And no help. It's just the two of you.
2nd and 10. Fouts drills it to Winslow, and there's one of the rare times you'll see one go through Winslow's mitts. Winslow in this first quarter has 3 catches and now has 50 for the year.
Dick, one of the things that you will notice in watching these two teams, the kind of patterns that Fouts prefers are timing patterns. He is throwing to a spot on the field and expects his receivers to get there and catch the ball. The Raiders, on the other hand, throw to the receiver, and they don't throw until after the receiver makes his break. A very decidedly different style of passing game.
Watts and McKinney make a 6 defensive back alignment for the Raiders. Fouts, flag down, Joyner. Knocked away by Watts, who came in as that 6th defensive back. Now the flag. Legal procedure, the preliminary signal against San Diego.
Kellen Winslow started some interesting motion. Might have been going forward at the last second.
Let's go to New York.
All right, Dick, watch what happened in the Hoosier Dome late in the game between the Steelers and the Colts. Colts in a desperate situation, 3rd and 24, trailing 16-10. Mike Pagel scrambles. Sam Washington tips the ball to Ray Butler. 17-16. The Colts upset the Steelers.
Yeah, there's a big upset. And in that Central Division of the AFC, where everyone's having trouble winning, the Colts now have knocked off the leaders, the Steelers, after Pittsburgh had beaten formerly undefeated San Francisco just last week. Maury Buford drills one to the 1-yard line to Greg Pruitt, and Pruitt is down at the 10-yard line as we welcome those of you who have just seen the Indianapolis Colts in quite a comeback beat the Steelers 17-16. They must have been jumping at the Hoosier Dome. Here it's 7-all, the Chargers and the Raiders, and we also welcome those who are about to join us from the Denver-Buffalo game. Denver 37, Buffalo 7. We welcome those of you who have watched the Broncos go to 7-1, and of course the Denver fans will be most interested in the outcome here. Is should the Raiders be upset by San Diego, the Broncos would own the AFC Western's top spot, sole possession. It's 7-all, a long 60-yard punt by Maury Buford of the Chargers, but they're going to bring it back.
5-yard face mask. 56 of the kicking team. Repeat the kick. It's 4th down.
What a shame, as the penalty will negate that 60-yard punt. Buford has been kicking so much better. Has actually raised his average in the last 4 weeks by 6 yards, and that 60-yarder would have helped. Let's see what he can do on a second chance here. There's Vince Osby, linebacker, who was ticketed for a face mask foul on that play.
Come back to the 35-yard line, 4th and 15. Greg Pruitt, the solo return man for the Raiders at his 20. Pruitt over the 13,000 mark. Total yardage in his fine career. Buford doesn't hit this one nearly.
Line drive. Look out.
At the 20.
That's a return ball.
30 and 14 yards for Pruitt on the return. And the Raiders in a 7-all tie will start from their own 34-yard line.
Can you believe it? JT with an $18 million contract?
Sure is a long way from the playground.
Think he still drinks Strohs? Yeah.
Hey, guys.
JT, Mr. Millionaire.
Richard. Timothy.
Oh, this is all right. He didn't forget his friend. Or his Strohs. Where is the Strohs?
Out by the pool.
The pool?
Strohs and Strohlights.
Now that's a cooler.
Fire brewed for smoother taste.
With Merlin Olsen, Dick Enberg at San Diego Stadium. A beautiful day and two teams that are expected to light up the scoreboard today. 7-0 first quarter.
Well, they haven't disappointed us here at the early start. The Chargers hoping, Dick, that they can control the football today. They want to keep their defense off the field. They've lost 2 of their starting defensive backs again. They've actually had 5 sets of defensive backs, different combinations over the last 8 weeks, and they are really hurting. They hope they can control the football offensively. They did it with a great drive the first time around, but they've stumbled a little bit here in the going later on, and now the Raiders are going to have another chance to get downfield.
You said earlier that those defensive numbers on San Diego, last in the league against the pass, 27th overall, made you sick.
I'm sure they make the defensive players on this team sick, too. They would desperately like to show themselves to be better than that today.
Marcus Allen, who has the touchdown for the Los Angeles Raiders.
Marcus Allen.
It gets the call, and we go from San Diego to New York.
Dick, here's the game winner in St. Louis. 5 seconds to go. Neil O'Donoghue from 21 yards. Cardinals beat the Redskins 26-24. The Cardinals are an improving team, but a year ago against Dallas and Washington, they were 0-4. Now they have beaten both those teams this season. They appear to be for real. Dick?
All right, Bob, and of course, Jim Hannafin, a former assistant of Don Coryell at St. Louis when Coryell had some banner seasons with the Cardinals. In fact, that was the last time they really enjoyed the kind of success they're looking for this year. Marcus Allen with another carry and a first down to the 45-yard line.
Here are the statistics that we alluded to earlier, Dick. The fact that the Chargers are 4th against the run. Now, that's very deceptive. They've given up the 4th best yardage against the run, but that's because everyone is throwing the football. Their average against the run is not good, and that might be a serious injury there. That's Mike Green, who's the leading tackler for this Charger team and a very important member. They have just been ripped by injuries. Rick McDonald, the trainer there, might be their MVP if he can get all these guys healthy and back on the field.
Cliff Thrift, 59, replaces Green. Wilson with a quick out, incomplete to Branch.
Wilson pass incomplete.
The Raiders know how to utilize their weapons. Tom Flores knows that you have to be frightened of the speed of a Cliff Branch, especially if you haven't been starting over there. And John Turner, the man who's starting at that corner, has been pushed into service here. He's going to give Branch a lot of room. They threw the quick out there and missed the chance to catch it. It certainly was well thrown by Wilson.
2nd and 10 at the Raider 45. Wilson to Branch. He's open at the 40. And Billy Ray Smith catches him from behind at the 32. 23 yards for Branch. 493 receptions. 500 yards.
Excuse me, Dick. John Turner lined up a full 10 yards off Branch on that play. And expecting Branch to go deep, gave him the room to make the inside cut. Wilson able to deliver the ball to him. Branch catching the ball in traffic, has excellent hands. And there's Turner. He's the new face. As a quarterback, you look across, you see a new face, you go test him. John Turner will be tested today.
From the Vikings in the Billy Shields deal. Wilson going for it all to Barnwell, and it's out of the end zone. Well, Turner played free safety with the Vikings, and then to move, that sounds like a simple move, to move from one defensive back position to another, but not from free safety to a cornerback.
Much different. That's a totally different kind of situation. It looks like Mike Green is having his ankle taped over there. That's certainly better than having a knee worked on, but anything that takes away the strengths of this Charger defense, they're having so much trouble now that they certainly don't need to have to adjust for the loss of one of their best linebackers.
2:09 left in the first quarter. 7-all the score. 2nd and 10. Wilson. Oh, intercepted by Billy Ray Smith at the 20 and down at the 22. A fine catch by the linebacker.
A little rollout by Mark Wilson, who thought he was going to have some extra time, but he got a good rush on that play by Chuck Ian. Ian breaking across, and Wilson letting this football go right at the last second, but it goes right into the hands of Billy Ray Smith.
Good thing he didn't cut his fingernails. The Chargers have it at the 22. Picking up the interception, and for Wilson, he's done a fine job in replacing Plunkett. Only the second interception he's thrown. But it stops the drive, 7 all. Less than 2 minutes left in the quarter. Chargers at their 22. Bounce. Incomplete. No flag. Lester Hayes playing Joyner like a blanket.
There's the little ritual by Charlie Joyner. You see the hands and pushing himself up off his feet. Highly superstitious. In fact, really upset last week. He always leaves 4 hours before the game, and last week in Kansas City there was no cab. Somebody else had taken his cab, and he was furious. He didn't have to worry about it here. He arrives with the equipment man, Sid Brooks. When Sid drives, they have no trouble.
He wants to be the first in the locker room before a game. Draw to Jackson. Well read by the Raiders. Bill Patel, 71 from Rutgers, and Bob Nelson, the ex-Cornhusker, there on the tackle. San Francisco leading Houston 10-0 in the second quarter. Jim Plunkett on the sidelines, probably out for at least a couple of more weeks. What happens if Wilson should go down? Well, they have signed the left-hander David Humm. He's in the Las Vegas bullpen year after year. They make the call.
They sure did. The call came quickly. I'll tell you about that in a second, Ben.
Chandler in motion. Alzado makes the hit. They're going to call it a forward pass, incomplete.
Alzado all the way around the backside working on Sam Clappin, number 77. Clappin had a tough time last week against Bell, and he's not able to control Alzado. You saw Alzado swatting that ball away, but the arm had started forward. They called it a forward pass, an incomplete pass. It'll be 4th down. Buford will get another chance to kick here.
1-0 line left in the first quarter. Fouts is just 3 for 9 passing in this first period. Pruitt back at the 34 of the Raiders. Good high kick. Pruitt at the 29. Oh, good hit. And it goes right into the arms of a fellow Raider. Otis McKinney saves the day for Tom Flores.
Just an explosion. That ball shot straight in the air. Pruitt unable to control it. Looking from behind Pruitt as he takes that very high kick. Watch the football just explode out of his hand as he tried to jump over the defender and right into the hands of an alert Otis McKinney.
So the Raiders with a deep breath and a down. He was watching our telecast.
He sure was.
I know I'm going to get a call. Kenny King gets the call, and a big hole greets him, and about an 8-yard pickup. Willie Ray Smith makes the tackle. Final minute of the first quarter here in San Diego on a perfect football afternoon. Temperature 70 degrees. Make it 7 yards on the carry. 2nd and 3. Branch to the left. Barnwell right. King and Marcus Allen behind Mark Wilson. Allen. Bubbles. And the Chargers have recovered at the 49-yard line.
Dick, how many times have we seen it happen? When the Raiders get in trouble, it's usually as a result of mistakes and turnovers. The ball has been in the air and on the ground a couple of times. They were able to get it back on the fumbled punt return, but Marcus stripped of the football by a good hit from Chucky or from Bill Elko from the inside.
And Billy Ray Smith, an interception, now a fumble recovery. He passes. Fouts has gone 0 for 6 and an interception. He takes over at the Raider 49-yard line. Tight end Severs lining up in the backfield. And the give to Jackson. Ernest Jackson a couple of yards to the 47. Fouts last week in the loss at Kansas City 31-13 was the first time in 68 games for him that the offense did not score a touchdown. Well, he does have one in the first period today, and apparently this will be the last few seconds of the quarter.
Fouts certainly the main man. He makes this offense go. He does it effectively. They need him desperately today. They need to control the football offensively.
And that is the end of the first period in San Diego. The Raiders and and the Chargers tie. The passing offense leader, the Chargers, Ernie Zampese.
We've got an interesting situation. It's Zampese against Zeman. The Z-men are working it out. This is the defensive signal caller for the Los Angeles Raiders, so it's Z on Z today. Zorro would have been proud.
You bet. At the 48-yard line of the Raiders, the Chargers have the ball. Second down, a short 9, a 7-all tie, and we open the second quarter. Out to the blitz, and Otis McKinney nails him. Oh, that's the kind of clean break by a defensive back. You hope your quarterback can get up in one piece.
It was exactly that kind of play last week that Fouts fumbled on. Notice he's looking to his right side. On that play, he got a quick glimpse of Otis McKinney. No one even put a finger on McKinney. He came in just from the blind side. Fouts lucky he didn't have that ball loose in his hand, or he may have fumbled on that one.
The sack takes it back to the 45-yard line, and Fouts looks at third down and 16. Bobby Duckworth. He is the bomb man for the Chargers, averaging 27 yards a catch this year and well over 21 in his career here with the Chargers. Former decathlete in Arkansas high schools.
Bobby Duckworth will be on the far side of your screen, working right straight down the edge of the field, just enough. That's Mike Haynes that you can see over there by himself. There's Duckworth just making the quick break. Now his job, get up as far as you can. They call him Bobby Go Deep. And there he is trying to streak out, but Mike Haynes staying with him step for step, and Bobby unable to handle it.
So the fumble recovery, as was the case with the interception, and the Chargers unable to take advantage, and the kick by Buford out of bounds at the 14 of the Raiders. So Los Angeles in a 7-all tie will have it at their 14 when we come back. Welcome back to San Diego, where the Chargers and Raiders renew their rivalry. The 50th game played between these two original American Football League members. Mark Wilson from his 14 under pressure and almost intercepted. Was it intercepted? No signal. No, now they say incomplete. The ball apparently hitting the ground before ball-hawking Billy Ray Smith came up with another.
Malcolm Barnwell, a receiver, and he knows he's in trouble. Wilson's arm hit just as he delivered that ball. Barnwell here becomes the defensive back, and look at him go after the football. He did exactly what he had to do and knocked it away. Watch Mark Wilson. He'll be hit from the back side here. It's Keith Ferguson, 76, I believe, breaking loose here and hitting Wilson just as he unloaded that football that caused that pass to go awry.
2nd and 10. Great protection. And now it breaks down, and Wilson cut down from behind by Keith Guthrie, the rookie from Texas A&M, playing on the nose. All right, let's bring you right up to date on this 8th week of the season, the halfway point in the year. Miami, Marino had 4 more touchdown passes. Miami 8-0. It was St. Louis, a final second field goal by O'Donohue to beat the Redskins. Denver rolling 37-7. They're now 7-1. Battle of field goals. Cincinnati wins at 12-9. Breach wins it in the final seconds. Detroit came from behind to win at Minnesota 16-14. Another come from behind. Colts 17-16 over the Steelers. Seattle beats Green Bay by 6. And it was Philadelphia over the Giants 24-10. You're up to date on all the finals. 3rd and 10. Wide open is Branch again. 30. And he's out to the 36-yard line and a first down. Another final score for you. The Bears at Tampa Bay 44-9. Oh my.
That's a meat grinder.
Cliff Branch 21 yards to match the number on his uniform. And as you noted earlier, Merlin Olsen, with that pass defense and trouble, the deep backs for the Chargers, they're just running Branch underneath, but giving him all kinds of room. A blitz, but they pick it up. And there's the toss to Christensen, and another first down out at the 46-yard line. Billy Ray Smith to make the tackle along with Mike Green.
Christensen making the catch. Observers of quarterbacks say you can tell an awful lot about their comfort in the pocket by watching their feet.
Let's watch Mark Wilson shuffling back, watching Christensen across the middle. It's a timing pattern. That's more like the patterns you'll see the Chargers throw. Again, the shot from the inside. There's a blitz coming. We won't see too many of those today. And there you see Todd Christensen doing what he does so well, finding room between those defenders and just sliding a little bit to the left or right to make it possible to complete on a pass.
First down. You know, if you like the passing game and pass receivers, this is a terrific game for you. There are enormous numbers represented, just in 3 on each side. If you take the top 3 receivers career-wise on these 2 teams, we have over 2,000 catches in the NFL represented, with the Chandlers and the Joyners and the Branches, and you throw in Christensen and of course the brilliant tight end of the San Diego Chargers as well, Kellen Winslow. Wilson in trouble, and down at the 44. Keith Ferguson chased him out of there, and Rich Ackerman made the tackle.
One of the big problems with San Diego's defense, and they're appearing to do something about it today, they have not been able to get pressure from the front line on the quarterbacks. You've seen Ferguson getting a couple of shots on Wilson today, and perhaps because the Raiders are taking so long with their passes, but at the same time, that has to be a welcome sight for Tom Bass, the defensive coordinator of the Chargers.
See the 4-year total for Ferguson. That's a 1-year total for some of the big pass rushers. Nothing there as Billy Ray Smith and company stack up Marcus Allen. Fred Robinson, a rookie from Miami of Florida, also in on the tackle, number 90. And that's one of the things that Don Coryell has to do defensively. He has to freely substitute on that defensive line. He knows that they may not have the talent there, so he tries to keep fresher bodies on the field.
We've seen a lot of people in and out, and look at that. They allowed 506 yards last week to Kansas City. That's a yearly high, and they had a yearly low offensively. It was a peak for both the offense and defense, only the wrong time.
Wilson, great protection. And there's Doki Williams with a catch at the San Diego 36, a first down. Turner and Woodrow Lowe on the coverage.
Yeah, we mentioned the new face back there, and they're certainly after him again on that play. Turner trying to cover a very fleet Doki Williams, and Williams usually catches the deep ball. He was squeezing that football. Looked like it was halfway out of his arm. He was squeezing it for dear life, able to come down in control of the football. Here, watch the end of this play. Look how close to dropping that football. Look how he's squeezing it. He doesn't even have his hand on the ball.
He had it nestled against his neck. Here's Marcus Allen, and just nothing there as Billy Ray Smith with a final touch. Woody Lowe is the man who destroyed the play.
You see Billy Ray come over so quickly on that play, and an outstanding play from Billy Ray as well as from Lowe. Okay. Billy Ray had to leave the game against Kansas City, broke off one of the transverse processes in his back, and yet he's right out there this week. He won't even say it hurts.
And a draw it was. Kenny King to the 21-yard line before Potts and Turner can make the stop, and the Raiders on a hefty march.
Heard one of the players scream, draw, draw, draw. Unfortunately, no one there to stop it. We saw San Diego run this play earlier. The Raiders know the Chargers are coming hard on the pass rush here, an all-out pass rush. Again, do the wise thing, hand it off to Kenny King, who's passed the defensive line into the secondary, has the first down before anybody can get it down.
10 minutes left in the second quarter, a 7-all tie. Deflected and almost intercepted. It was intended for Barnwell. Woody Lowe was in the picture, and when Lowe gets his hands on the ball, it's often troubled. Lowe has 17 career interceptions, 4 for touchdowns, and he had a touchdown against the Raiders in their game earlier at the Coliseum.
People who know their football will certainly tell you that Woody Lowe has had an outstanding year, probably is the outstanding player on this Charger defense. That won't get you much recognition. The numbers are so bad that you take the rap along with everybody else.
2nd and 10. And the sack for number 90, rookie Fred Robinson. Picked up on waivers from Tampa Bay was Robinson this year.
Tom Bass doing exactly what you talked about moments ago as he rolls those defensive linemen in and out. We've seen all of those defensive linemen at one time or another early in this game. And Robinson, who is a good pass rusher, one that they're leaning more and more to, able to get in on Wilson on that play.
Big play for the Raiders. 3rd down, 13. Wilson able to dump it off to King. And look at King stay on his feet. There are 9 men on King. Only 2 men didn't get a piece of the action as King fighting and fighting, but denied the first down, and they'll go for the field goal.
And that's an encouraging sight. That means all of those blue-shirted Chargers are hustling to the football on such a crucial play. The initial hit right here, that's Lucius Smith, 33. A second man bounces off. Billy Race bounces up. They look like they're tin pins bouncing off a bowling ball down there. King showing a great balance and power.
It's a 38-yard attempt for Barr. And it is no good. Missed to the left, and that's been his problems. You saw even on the extra point earlier that he was hooking it left. He barely hooked that 20-yarder in to beat Minnesota last week.
They're using David Hum as the holder here since he's returned. He's an excellent holder. Had a little trouble with that snap, but as you said, hooked it out, and it's no good.
8:51 left in the half. It remains tied at 7.
Headlines, he'd make a great maitre d'. How many? A table for 4, a table for 2?
The Charger system is so complicated, Dick, that they have to have signals not only for their plays, but also for the formation coming in, whether they're sending in tight ends, who's supposed to go in, who's supposed to come out. The great thing yesterday is he's holding up 2 fingers, which means 2 tight ends going in. Wes Chandler comes over and he says, "Peace, brother." So we'll try and get a shot of Levy on the sideline. He's the man next to Coryell on the right-hand side of your screen with the earphones on. And we'll see later on if we can't catch some of those signals for you.
Not only signaling to play the Fouts, but who are his receivers? Ernest Jackson cutting back inside, and that's something that was most effective in game 1 against the Raiders. Darting in against the grain, back against the flow, and he picks up about 5, maybe 6. There's Levy.
There's a play being signaled. You see the man right in front of him. That's Phil Tyne, the weight coach. He's actually shielding Levy from the peering eyes on the Raider bench. He doesn't want them to see the signals.
2nd down and 4. Fouts has had a lean spell. Then he hits the wide open Sievers. 40, 45, and Eric Sievers is to midfield.
I believe that was a blown assignment by the Raiders secondary. Absolutely no one home as Sievers will appear on the left side of your screen. And look, he's all by himself. Mike Davis running from the inside. You hate to blame anyone. That's McElroy, the first man to get over there. You'd hate to blame the first guy to get over there. Often he's just reacting to the ball. But Sievers, and that's one of the problems with this complicated offense. They do occasionally give you so much that you don't cover everyone.
First down at midfield. Buford McGee is now the solo running back, and he gets the call. McGee, a rookie from Mississippi, is hammered after a yard gain. Otis McKinney, 23, coming up to make the stop. Now let's watch Levy. You think the baseball coach's signals are there? See, there's the
2 tight ends. Yeah, 2 tight ends. That was the first signal, was the one telling the players on the field who should come out. The rest of that, by the way, and there are signals coming from several places on the sideline for San Diego, which signal a play into Dan Fouts.
The rest of it said he's going to have cosmetic surgery.
I can't read that. I'm not Joe Garagiola. I can't quite do that.
2nd down and 9. Under pressure, there's the open man. Pete Holohan out of bounds at the 24-yard line. Mike Haynes made the tackle. You talk about a 2 tight end offense. Winslow and Sievers, they've got 3 of them. Holohan's having a big year.
Holohan all by himself, coming in motion across the backfield, changing the strength now, heading downfield, one-on-one on Mike Davis, and gets outside, using his height to shield Davis away. And you saw Mike going for the football. He didn't get it, and of course that was costly as they end up bumping him out of bounds. Mike Haynes, number 22, finally making the tackle.
That's 29 catches for Holohan this year. Former Notre Dame wide receiver. Quickie over the middle to Winslow, and he fights to the 14-yard line. And there's a quick read by Fouts. Saw the blitz coming and shot it to Winslow.
A quick shot to Kellen Winslow. Here he is right in the center of your screen. Now he just accelerates right here. Fouts will let him clear as he sees the blitz. He read the blitz. He knew the ball was coming. McElroy trying to hang around Kellen's ankles, but the big 6'6", 250-pounder able to pull away.
Winslow, the leading receiver in the National Football League coming into this game. And that now officially is his third to give him 50 for the season. And in yards, tight end receiving, this is what makes it interesting. Newsom second from Cleveland, Christensen third, but Pete Holohan, a rather unknown receiver here in San Diego until this year, is fourth in the league tight ends in receiving, and he's got a teammate who's number one.
I just sent Lester Hayes off the field, I think with some kind of an equipment problem.
Timeout, Oakland. Their first team timeout.
Well, maybe even L.A. has timeout.
Maybe even so.
Well, whether you're in Oakland or Los Angeles or wherever you're watching, it is timeout. Fans here in San Diego trying to wave the Chargers into the end zone. It's a 2nd and 1 just inside the Raider 15.
It looked like Lester Hayes may have been putting on thigh pads as he came back onto the field. Some kind of an equipment problem. And Fouts is saying, hey, you're my fans, but I need some quiet to work down here.
The toss to Jackson. He has a first down and more to the 10-yard line. So the Chargers will have to go the full distance now on this first down. Actually can get a first down without a touchdown.
Ernest Jackson got 155 yards against the Raiders in that first ball game. A lot of it outside. And on that particular play, he started outside, saw that the play was not there, and cut it back inside. He is not a nifty kind of runner in that he's not quick laterally, but he is quick getting to the hole and did a good job of cutting against the grain on that play.
They respot the ball at the 12. 7-all the score. Jackson going wide this time. And a flag down as Jackson is toppled at the 8. Rod Martin made the play. And you would suspect illegal use of the hands where they threw that flag.
Little battle going on between those two at the line of scrimmage. Lester Hayes trying to keep Chandler from getting downfield, and Chandler is going to go head-to-head with Lester. I don't think they're dancing. I don't think they like each other down there.
Tom Dooley.
Holding 85 offense. First
Eric
down.
Sievers with a 10-yard penalty back to the 22-yard line.
Sievers out in motion as the tight end ahead of that play and just clamped up on somebody out there. You see him next to Coach Coryell, who's kicking a clod in the grass there as he is looking at a 1st and 20 instead of a 2nd and 7 or 8.
Winslow in motion. Good protection for Fouts. And that's deflected at the line of scrimmage. Hard to tell whether that was Long or Alcedo.
I think number 71, Piquel, the tackle, the man who bounced that ball away. But those defensive linemen are all big and tall, and Piquel is tied with 6 sacks. He and Martin both have 6. He's become an excellent football player. Plays well against both pass and run, but he is put into the game more often than not against the passing game, and he's the man that knocked that ball away.
2nd down and 10 for Fouts. Holohan to the left, Joyner, and now Chandler in motion. Joyner's to the right. Going deep for Chandler, and he's out of the end zone. Plenty of coverage deep by the Raiders.
They brought Mike Haynes, number 22, in, stuck him nose-to-nose with Chandler, and he stayed with Chandler all the way down the field. At the last moment, Chandler adjusting to that football. Looked like he virtually had his hands on it, but was too deep. Fouts, I'm sure, not wanting to flirt with those defensive backs as they had Chandler relatively well covered.
See the other late games. Jets on the flea flicker. Houston has scored against the 49ers. It was the fact that Lester Hayes wasn't wearing any thigh pads, so they made him go over and put some in. 6 defensive backs on 3rd and 20. Fouts. Wide open. Chandler. Touchdown. It might be an expensive score, however, as Chandler holding his ankle.
Chandler is still on the ground. Fouts down to check on that wide receiver. He is concerned about him. But it is a touchdown. And for the moment, the Chargers go ahead. Let's look at the shot. A sandwich job right there. Mike Davis and Ted Watts are the two guys who sandwiched him. And Chandler is still on the ground, although he is sitting up.
So after the missed field goal by Barr, the Chargers have gone 80 yards in 9 plays, 23 yards on the touchdown throw to Chandler, his first catch of the day.
Fouts really made that play by stepping up into the pocket. They were able to get great pressure on him. We'll show you that a little bit later. As you watch Chandler coming off the field, he's moving pretty well under his own power. And that's a most welcome sight for these Charger fans and Don Coryell and the rest of his teammates on the sideline.
Officially 22 yards on the score. And attempting to make it 14-7 San Diego, Benny Ricardo.
Chandler taking a real shot. Giving you an opportunity to watch that collision in the end zone, but he got the points.
No good. Wide to the right as Ricardo misses the extra point, which could be critical. So timeout. 5 minutes and a second left in the half. The Chargers have the lead for the second time, 13-7.
Will come out in motion, break downfield, and then head right across for the end zone.
Lovely pattern. You see McKinney right here, the man that's covering him. But watch Chandler as he gets to the outside and those long deceptive strides, and then the quick acceleration to the inside with room right there. And you see the scissoring action of the two defensive backs as they snapped him to the ground. And obviously he really is hurting over there. But I think it's more of a bruise, a contusion than anything else.
Benny Ricardo just missed that extra point, sails one into the wedge, and Chester Willis returns it to the 37-yard line for the Raiders.
Be careful not to blame too much of that on Benny. That was a bad snap, and the ball tough to get down.
The wide receivers in the game, Wes Chandler, and you see, not good news, they have damaged the left knee.
We hope that's precautionary only, but we won't know until we can check with them later.
Trailing 13-7, the Raiders on the attack. That's Marcus Allen. And he darts along the sidelines, finally steps out of bounds near midfield. A first down, 12 yards in the play from San Diego to NFL New York.
All right, Dick, late in the second quarter at Giant Stadium, the Jets have scored their second touchdown. Pat Ryan has gone off into tight end Mickey Schuler this year. Here he finds Schuler across the middle. The Chiefs have yet to get going on offense, and it's 14-0 Jets.
Thank you, Bill. Here it's 13-7, and Wes Chandler being consoled.
That is a bruise, they say, on the knee, and we can expect to see him later. So that is good news from the bench, Dick.
Meanwhile, Marcus Allen, he's bad news for the pass defense of the Chargers as he has another catches and a 5-yard gain.
Look at Marcus's numbers, total yards from scrimmage as a receiver and as a runner. Marcus certainly having an outstanding year.
Number 1 in the AFC is Marcus Allen.
Some real hitting going on the line of scrimmage. Let's use our ears to let you in on the action here.
Jumps on the loose ball as Allen has coughed it up for the second time.
Fox coming off his third ankle surgery, has been out of the lineup. is making his presence felt here today with an alert play on that particular call. Watch the shot right there. That's Chuck Ian, I believe. Ferguson. Oh, Ferguson, 76. He's made some big plays today, Dick.
Another turnover goes to San Diego with 4:04 left in the half. At the start that the Chargers, with those miserable defensive statistics, had to force turnovers, mistakes by the Raiders, and they have them. That's the second fumble recovery plus an interception. And the Raiders, although they lead in total yards, have given up the ball and another chance to score. And now it's San Diego with a 13-7 lead, taking over at the 41. Almost picked off on the deflection as Lyle Alzado looking for that bounce.
That's Bill Pickel again knocking that ball away and almost into the hands of Alzado.
At the half, the Jets leading Kansas City 14-0.
Top of your screen, number 71, working on the center right there, Don Masick. Look how high in the air he went to bat that away. Looked like a volleyball player going up to swat that thing down.
He almost caught it.
He was mad that he didn't keep it in his hands.
Jackson, nothing there at all. 53, I shouldn't say nothing. Rod Martin was an outstanding player, was there. And you see Kellen Winslow arguing that Martin didn't need to go through with the physical nature of the play.
We haven't seen the kind of physical confrontations that the Raiders had last week with the Minnesota Vikings. They had 5 personal fouls in the first half last week, Dick. I think one of the reasons that we have not seen it is because Tom Flores made a no-nonsense speech to his players and said we cannot afford to have that kind of penalties that we would have to overcome and win a ball game with. We can't do that week in and week out.
3rd and 10 now for the Chargers. A pump and a throw. What a catch by Holohan. First down at the 37. Fouts has told us yesterday at practice, he said, watch Holohan. As great as the hands are of Winslow and Chandler and the rest, this guy catches everything.
A chance to look at him all the way across the field. Pete Holohan right here in the middle of your screen, number 88, will come across in motion. He'll cut up the field right there and dip across behind it, actually in front of Kellen Winslow and in front of Stacy Turan, finding the open area, and of course Fouts found the open receiver.
Ernest Jackson plowing forward 5 or 6 yards down to about the 32-yard line. Alzado and the rest with 2:22 showing on the clock. And the Chargers with a chance now to add to their 13-7 lead.
Fouts very comfortable at moving the ball down. Will try to do it at a slow enough pace not to leave too much time on that clock. He's very pleased at the kind of energy that Ernest Jackson brings to this offense. He's not only a good blocker, but he's also an excellent receiver and a good runner.
And it'll be 2nd and 6 Chargers at the Raider 32. 2 minutes left. From Grambling University, Charlie Joyner, now in his 200th regular season game, needs only 29 catches to pass Charlie Taylor and become the #1 all-time receiver in NFL history. He's not caught a pass today. There he is, lined up wide left. Ernest Jackson on a draw. Big hole, 25-20. He's going to go all the way. And what a play by Bobby Duckworth. He ran Lester Hayes right into the end zone. Hayes had his back to the play.
The danger of playing man-to-man is that you've got your back to the quarterback. Duckworth pretending all the time that it was a pass. Sucker punch. Lester Hayes for the 2nd time today kept him out of the play. You'll see it at the end of this play on the right-hand side of your screen as Jackson breaks past Jeff Barnes. Now watch Duckworth. He'll show up on the right side. I hope we'll see him. Oh, my.
Well, he's got him all the way out of the end zone.
Way out of the picture.
32 yards on the touchdown. Ricardo just does get the extra point, and it's 20-7 San Diego. Ernest Jackson scoring his 2nd touchdown today and 7th this year.
A wide shot of that last play, and you'll see Duckworth right on the 20-yard line. Now watch him. He's pretending all the way that the ball is coming. You see him, he had his hands up in the air, ran Lester Hayes all the way out the back of the end zone, and all the time Ernest Jackson running in. Look at the enthusiasm there. Happy young man.
Isn't it interesting how when you think things are really going wrong, somehow it happens to heal rather nicely. Chuck Muncie, Pete Johnson, long gone. And they find an Ernest Jackson who only carried the ball a couple of times last year. He had something like 35 yards rushing. Here sitting all along was his second-year man Jackson, who may be better than the two that are not playing.
Well, and sometimes being in trouble brings out the best in a team. They've certainly shown that today. There's a man who will feel a little foolish, I think, but he was doing his job. He believed that it was a pass, and his job was to take Bobby Duckworth out of that play. He stayed on him all the way down the sideline, and they called Jackson Popeye. He's got big eyes. His mom gave him that name just after he was born.
Well, he's flexed his muscle, 32 yards. Ricardo's kick aimed toward Clee Montgomery at the 7. 20. Oh, what a hit at the 21-yard line. 59, Cliff Thrift. Bill Walton, one of those enthused Charger fans here today. The L.A. Clippers center and former All-American at UCLA.
And things have certainly brightened up here for the Chargers. Such a grim environment all week long as they fought against the defensive injuries that had crippled their secondary. They knew they had to perform well offensively. They had to have that ball in their control. They've done it, and they have played extremely well defensively, Dick.
1:47 left in the half. Plenty of time for Wilson, who hits Kenny King, who in turn is smothered by 3 Chargers at the 30-yard line. 8 yards on the play. Wilson hurrying up.
He is hurrying it up. He's right back on the line with no huddle. Second and about 2.
Dumps it off to King again. Breaking tackles, 40, 45 goes King.
That's the danger of the philosophy that they're using defensively, dropping everyone deep. They open up that pathway short of the linebackers. King using it for a long gainer there.
Remember, the Raiders had to use 1 timeout for Lester Hayes to change the equipment. And again, King 3 for 3 down at the 49 of San Diego with 57 seconds showing. And no timeout again.
Still no huddle as Wilson working the clock effectively up on the line quickly.
48 seconds. Wilson all day to throw. Again underneath to Hawkins, who has just replaced King. And Hawkins hit at the 45-yard line.
Ray Preston, number 52, in on that play, and it looked like Hawkins thought he would be blocked out of the play.
Timeout called. Wes Chandler is going to be carted back to the dressing room.
Well, now that's not good news. We had given you an encouraging report, which we'd received from the sideline, that it was a knee bruise. And just before the half, they may indeed still be just trying to protect him, but that is not a good sign right there.
Well, another exciting week on NBC NFL 84, the 8-game mark, the halfway position. Next week, the Jets and New England. The Jets are winning at halftime 14-0. New England was in the game with Miami, but then the Dolphins, Marino, took charge. The Colts will be on a high after that come-from-behind win against Pittsburgh. They'll be in Dallas, and we'll have Cincinnati. The Bengals have won their last 2 in Houston. The late game, Merlin and I will be at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. The rematch of the only loss for the Raiders this year, and Denver winning again today. Denver assured of at least a piece of first place. That definitely will be a battle for the #1 spot in Los Angeles. And the other game, Buffalo will be in Miami to challenge the unbeaten Dolphins.
If things continue the way they are, the Raiders will be fighting to get back to a piece of first place themselves next week.
Ball is at the 45-yard line. The Raiders have 1 timeout left and 37 seconds. 20-7, San Diego. Going long and wide open is Barnwell for a touchdown. That, believe it or not, in the 8th game of the year is the first touchdown catch by a wide receiver of the Raiders.
Credit Mark Wilson's long arm fake. He faked the short pass, made it look like he was throwing that football, As you see the outside receiver, number 80, Malcolm Barnwell, fakes the little outside move right there and then just blows past the receiver, Reuben Henderson, I believe, number 20. And he gets down into the end zone with 28 seconds left on the clock.
Barr's tried for point. Well, you said that the Chargers didn't want to score too quickly. And Barr, low kick, and you can see Barr said, oh, shivering on that one. He didn't like the kick. It went through, but it was much too low.
This will be the chance to see the fake. When the receiver, Barnwell, goes to the outside, there's the fake by Wilson that throws Reuben Henderson, number 20, and you see with the result of that, he is trying to catch up a full step and a half behind. The ball perfectly thrown, no chance for the defender, and that is exactly what Jim Wagstaff, defensive coordinator of these defensive backs, did not want to see happen. He wanted everything in front of those defensive backs today, and now they get one behind, and Wilson finds him, puts 7 points on the board quickly.
A beautiful execution and well covered by our NBC crew. As you saw the little fake as if it was going to be a short out, and Barnwell streaking down the sidelines, Wilson setting it up with a pump, and then a perfect throw to catch Barnwell on the dead run for the score to make it 20-14, 28 seconds left in the half.
We're on track with that 33-30 game. We're getting the same kind of numbers here as these two offensive teams churn out the points, and they have not been bad plays by the defense. I think just aggressive and solid plays by both offenses here.
30 points, not enough to win in the first game, and it may not be enough again today. Barr to kick. Lionel James, the little rookie, little train at the 10. To the 20. Clee Montgomery has him out of bounds at the 26-yard line.
Lionel James.
21 seconds left. We'll see if the Chargers just run out the clock. Well, in many ways, you said, you know, the Chargers had the ball first down at about the 35 of the Raiders, that they'd like to just chew up the clock. They didn't expect Ernest Jackson to run 32 yards for a touchdown, and that gave the Raiders enough time to strike back and negate the Charger touchdown.
Let's credit Mark Wilson with his use of the clock. With already having lost the timeout, very effective in the way he kept his team moving down the field without having to call timeout.
Dobbs apparently just going to run out the clock. Judging from that alignment, the fans, they want action on every play. Don Coryell says, hey, we've got the lead. Let's go into the locker room knowing we're in front. So with 12 seconds still on the clock, the two teams are already on their way to the dressing room.
The Chargers 20 and the Raiders 14.
Now stay tuned for all the scores, the top plays of the day on NFL 84 at the intermission in San Diego. It's the Chargers 20, the Raiders. It's the Chargers 20, the Raiders 14.
We'll be returning to you in Merlin in just a few moments. For some, this will be the first look at all the scores around the league. For others, it will serve as an update. At any rate, Miami is now 8-0. They defeat New England 44-24. Dan Marino with 4 touchdown passes. He's got 24 for the year. At this rate, he would throw 48 for the season, and the record is 36. Tony Eason had 3 touchdown passes in the loss for New England. St. Louis defeats Washington 26-24. This is one of the game's big plays. Trailing 24-17, fourth quarter, Neil Lomax throws one of his 3 touchdown passes. It covers 83 yards to Roy Green, who scored twice today, but the point after was missed by Neil O'Donoghue. Then O'Donoghue redeemed himself by kicking a field goal of 21 yards with 5 seconds to play. The Cardinals win at 26-24. Now in the last 3 weeks, the Cardinals, who have won 3 in a row, have beaten Dallas, the Bears, and Washington. Important wins over Dallas and Washington, their 2 main rivals in the NFC East. Denver over Buffalo 37-7, Broncos 7-1, Buffalo 0-8. Cincinnati on a last play field goal by Jim Breach defeats Cleveland 12-9 despite a 60-yard field goal earlier by Cleveland's Steve Cox. Detroit with Billy Sims gaining 100 yards over Minnesota 16-14. Indianapolis beats Pittsburgh on this play 17-16. They trail 16-10, about a half minute left. 3rd and 24. Mike Pagel scrambles. His pass deflected by Sam Washington. Thank you, says Raymond Butler. Into the end zone he goes with the point after Indianapolis upsets Pittsburgh 17-16. Seattle over Green Bay, 30-24. The Packers have lost 7 in a row, and Seattle, meanwhile, is 6-2. 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes by Ron Jaworski. Philadelphia beats the Giants 24-10. Walter Payton scores twice, but he doesn't get 100 yards. Nonetheless, Chicago beats Tampa Bay 44-9. In the game you're watching, San Diego 2014 over the Raiders at the half. The Jets are in the third now, leading Kansas City 14-0. And San Francisco also in the third quarter in front of winless Houston 17-7. Now stay with us. We'll be back following these messages and a word from your local station.
West with a winning record, the most competitive of the 6 divisions, and Denver with an impressive win at Buffalo in first place at the moment. They beat the Raiders. Their only loss, Los Angeles this year thus far. Seattle has won today. Kansas City is trailing at the half, and San Diego with a lead here at halftime. The 3 turnovers may be the key to the Chargers staying in front.
I think so. They've actually given up more yardage than they have gained today, and we talked about their woes on defense. They lost 2 of their starters defensively in the backfield. They've had to try and play a very conservative defense, trying to keep everything in front of them. They've done that pretty well until just before the half. They gave up an easy long bomb, a touchdown that really hurts them. And the other thing I think we've got to keep our eye on is the kickers, Dick. Neither kicker having a very good day. Ricardo missing an extra point that could be crucial, and Barr having real trouble.
He had trouble, missed the field goal, and narrowly close on a couple of extra point tries. Looking now at the official first half statistics, and very even they are as we get ready for the kickoff in the second half.
We noticed the total yardage, of course, in favor of the Raiders, and that's basically attributable to passing yardage. The 3 turnovers, Dick, you talked about them. They have indeed been the biggest plays of this half, along with some outstanding play by the 2 quarterbacks.
The Raiders striking in the final minute of the first half to close a 27 gap. To trail by only 6, will get the ball first here to open the second half. Dokie Williams and Clee Montgomery are deep. And Benny Ricardo, who does not have quite the leg of Benerska, he's been a little shy, a little short on his kickoffs.
The Raiders say he kicks a returnable ball. Usually hits it down to about the 5.
To the 6 it goes out of Montgomery's hands, and down he goes at the 10-yard line, almost as if someone had a piano wire around his ankles. Now let's see how they score. First it was Ernest Jackson, 5 yards for the first score of the game. San Diego led 7-0. Right back came the Raiders as Marcus Allen, a 10-yard pass from Mark Wilson. Then Chandler, injured on the play, injured his knee on a 22-yard crossing pattern for the touchdown. Ernest Jackson springing loose for 32 yards to make it 20-7. And then Malcolm Barnwell on a great hook and go from Mark Wilson to make it 20-14. Wilson brings him out of the huddle. Offensive line of Dalby, Tanner, Mospar, Davis, and Lawrence. The tight end Christensen. Wide receivers are Barnwell and Branch. It's King and Allen, and it's Allen getting the call to start it. And they were going for the ball on the tackle as Allen picks up about 7 to the 17-yard line. To NFL in New York.
Dick, early in the third quarter at the Meadowlands, with the Jets already leading the Chiefs 14-0, Bill Kenny drops to throw. Tom Baldwin hits him. Ball knocked free, and none other than Mark Gastineau covers it in the end zone. It's all going New York's way. They lead it 21-zip.
So the Jets trying to embarrass Kansas City. First down as King rattles up the middle to about the 23-yard line. Mike Green made the stop for San Diego. Still no official word on the condition of Wes Chandler. As soon as we receive that on the press level, we'll share it with you, of course.
He has not come back out onto the field. He apparently is being worked on or checked by the doctors in the locker room. The Raiders, it would appear, have decided they're going to test this Charger defense physically. They're coming right at them, right at the middle.
Now Wilson to throw. He had a big first half underneath to King. That's a play that worked so well on the drive at the end of the first half, and King has a first down to the 37 before Billy Ray Smith can make the tackle. Newest member of the L.A. Raiders is Brad Van Pelt, number 91. You see Jim Plunkett in the foreground, itching, of course, to get those pads on again. Van Pelt, the former star with the New York Giants, and he traded the Vikings, did not report, and the Raiders have acquired his services. Wilson, right through the hands of Marcus Allen, who was turning to run before the ball was there.
Maybe Marcus heard some footsteps on that one. He really snapped his head around one of those defenders may have yelled at him, gotten his attention. They have really popped him a couple of times early in the game. And the kind of philosophy that the Charger defense has had to employ here because of their injuries, they're dropping everyone deep. They're rushing basically with 3 men, although they came with the blitz on that play. And they're trying to come up and hit those receivers and those ball carriers and knock the ball loose. They've done it quite effectively.
Allen on the draw. Look at him dart up the middle of the 50. He's at the 45. And finally out of bounds at the 30-yard line. Marcus Allen. Well, that's about as quick out of the blocks as we've seen Allen in a long time. 33 yards on the play.
He has not run for a great average on this year, at least not compared to his numbers perhaps in his rookie year. But look at the acceleration and the quickness that he shows you here. He was in that secondary before they even knew where to look for him. Another angle of the same play. You see that great outside-inside, that lateral mobility, and then the acceleration. John Turner as he knocks him out, and that's the longest run of the year for Marcus Allen.
He gets the call again, and up the middle for 5 more.
And except for that ball control pass to Kenny King we saw a moment ago, they've done all their damage on the ground as they come out to challenge this Charger defense physically, and the size of this Raider line becomes a factor here. They're very big physically. They do beat on you. They wear you down. And certainly the Chargers have played a highly emotional first quarter or first half that may come to work against them the latter part of the game.
Allen again. Just as he was making his cut, trailing the play, Chuck Ian, 12th round draft pick a year ago out of BYU, was able to lay his 260 pounds on his back and drop him for a 2-yard gain at the 24. It'll be 3rd and 4 for the Raiders. Just underway, second half in San Diego, and a critical call for both teams. 8th play of the drive that has featured 5 runs by Allen. Through the hands of Barnwell at the 15, and the field goal unit comes on for the Raiders.
Hard to tell what goes through a quarterback's mind. Wilson may have felt Keith Ferguson breathing down the back of his neck and put a little more on that pass than he needed to. It looked like it was thrown rather hard for Malcolm Barnwell, who was not that far away.
David Humm to hold. It's a 42-yard try by Barr. Barr missed from 38 yards in the second quarter.
And he also almost missed an extra point.
Nothing wrong with that one. And the Raiders chip at that Charger lead. It's now 20-17. So the first possession by Los Angeles yields 3. Chris Barr, after hitting on a 42-yard field goal to kick it off, 21. Buford McGee, 26. Lionel James deep for the Chargers as they get the ball for the first time in the second half. It's James at the 6. And he's out of bounds at the 28, and the flag is flying, and it's way back at the 15-yard line. Clay Montgomery again made the saving play defensively for the Raiders.
I think perhaps it's on Vince Osby, 56 again. He got a flag earlier for an illegal block, and that will take them back, I believe, inside the, well, almost inside, in fact, inside the 10-yard line.
Holding 56 on the receiving team. First down.
Vince Osby, who played at Illinois last year, a free agent linebacker pick, lives very near the El Segundo practice site of the L.A. Raiders in Inglewood, California.
And here is the block right here in the middle of your screen. Number 56, Vince Osby, getting a handful of jersey right there. You see him look at him stretch that jersey, literally trying to undress that Raider defender.
From the 8-yard line, Fouts gives to Jackson for a couple. Well, not only Wes Chandler, who's being x-rayed, his knee, still no report. Cliff Branch has suffered a groin injury. He hasn't played since the second quarter for the Raiders. So 2 outstanding receivers sidelined in the action today. And with Chandler out,
We expect to see Duckworth or perhaps more of the 3 tight end offense for Coryell. It's Duckworth, though, who goes out wide left, Joyner to the right, Winslow and Holohan look in the lineup. Now Holohan in motion. 2nd and 8 play. The pump. That's going to be a safety for the Raiders. Rod Martin gets 2 for Los Angeles.
Fouts taking a little too much time. It's not an easy quarterback to sack, but Rod Martin just accelerated on him, got a hold of him. I don't know that Fouts knew that he was that close to the goal line. He stops just on the 1-yard line and thought, I think, that he could get around Martin, step back behind the goal line. Now, what have they done? They've called it. No,
it's not a safety. I saw the referee do it.
You did. Apparently, he was overruled by one of the other officials who said that they're going to mark it on the 1-yard line, but they don't get the 2 points, Dick.
They'll take that away, recorded as a sack, and 3rd down from his 1-foot line. And he's still going to throw from the end zone. Down the middle, Winslow to the 21-yard line, and a 1st down. How do you do?
The 2nd time today that we have seen Fouts coming back on those long yardages from his own end zone. I believe the first time was in the first drive, throwing from the back of his end zone to this big tight end Kellen Winslow in traffic between 2 defenders. Winslow just went up and muscled him, brought that football down. 1st and 10.
20 yards on the play. Winslow now with 4 catches and 58 yards in the game to add to his #1 status among receivers in the NFL this year.
Ball start, 77 offense, 1st down.
Sam Clappin.
I wonder if that official knows he has a microphone on, Dick.
Well, Fouts will work 1st and 15 from his 15. Penalties have been a factor of these 2 teams this year. Severs gets the 5 yards plus 1 or 2 before Jeff Barnes can make the hit.
Those of you watching at home may have sensed that the picture changed a little bit. There was a shadow of a blimp going across the field right during the middle of that play. Short yardage picked up the 2nd and 8.5 yards. Here's watch the shadow going through. Look at that. Look at the lights go out as that blimp moves through the picture, and it actually shielded them from the sun momentarily.
2nd down and 8. Ernest Jackson slashing off the left side of the 26-yard line, short of the 1st down by 5. Bill Pickel, Bob Nelson on the tackle.
One of the things that Ernie Zampese likes about Jackson is that he rarely loses yardage. He's so quick to the line of scrimmage and moving upfield most of the time. They talk about positive yardage. They want to get positive yardage. They don't want to be running laterally. Jackson is very good at that.
Fouts will look at 6 defensive backs as Watts and McKinney come in. Fumble, and Lyle Alzado has recovered for the Raiders.
Fouts trying to find room in that pocket as it just disintegrated. A pair of 77s working on the far side. Alzado getting by Clappin. Getting inside, and there he is. The ball rolled right into his hands.
Well, he earned that. He was the man who made contact underneath on Fouts. With the Raiders with a chance to take the lead. Mike Davis intercepted a pass at the San Diego 14, and very quickly the Raiders had a score. Now Lyle Alzado with a fumble recovery at the San Diego 17, and trailing 20-17. Wilson goes after the lead. Marcus Allen hammered at the 15-yard line. Hard-earned 2 yards for Allen.
That will go down as a very short gainer, but let me tell you, Marcus comes up limping on that play. This has been a costly game for both teams in terms of bodies hammered, attributable to the kind of work going on down there on the line of scrimmage. Both these teams, and you see George Anderson, the trainer, coming out to help Marcus off the field.
Greg Pruitt, the veteran, number 34, replaces Max Pruitt in motion. Wilson to the end zone, almost intercepted by John Turner. It was intended for Malcolm Barnwell. Turner made a good move.
They've gone at Turner all day long. We mentioned he's the new face in that defensive secondary. Working one-on-one on Malcolm Barnwell, timed his break perfectly. Watch him shoot right here in front of Barnwell. It looked like he tripped over Barnwell's feet. Had he kept his feet, he may well have intercepted that pass.
Turner, who had 17 interceptions while a member of the Minnesota Vikings for 6 years. Wilson to Christensen, and he's right at the goal line. Stopped at the 1-yard line. So it's 1st and goal for the Raiders at the Charger 1-yard line. As Christensen, who made so many clutch catches when the Raiders came from 30 to 20 down to win in Los Angeles earlier.
Marcus Allen back in the lineup.
Yeah, this is the game at the Coliseum when Allen scored 4 times up and over, and that's what we might well expect in this situation. Little changeup, but doesn't matter. Derek Jensen, touchdown. The captain of the special teams all alone.
As a third tight end was on the wing, came across. Wilson just faking to a Marcus Allen, who was doing his jumping act. Actually, Marcus almost knocked him down as he's heading into line of scrimmage. The timing on this play not as good as it should have been. Watch Wilson almost get knocked down by Marcus Wilson here, or by Marcus Allen. Shoulder to shoulder there, but plenty of time and no one home as he throws the touchdown pass.
Barr hits the extra point, and it's 24 to 20. So when you're not answered points after trailing 20 to 7, they lead 24-20. Lionel James. Oh, fumbles! Flags are down, and the Raiders say they have the football. No official word yet. Yes, Raiders get it right back. The flag undoubtedly against the Chargers, or at least you would suspect so. Jimmy Smith, picked up from the Washington Redskins, gets the fumble recovery.
Illegal block. Number 56 receiving team. Penalty is declined. Raiders ball, 1st down.
Mark Braden, Hank Bauer, special teams coaches for the Chargers, are going to have a little talk with Vince Osby. That's his 3rd of the day, but that is the crucial mistake there. Lionel Little Train James taking the hit, and the one thing they simply could not afford, and I believe they're helping James off the field. He really took a shot. 2 turnovers. It led directly, of course, to Raider touchdowns. The Raiders looking right down into that end zone again.
Yeah, they've gone from 14 yards, 17 yards, and now the 16-yard line. Marcus Allen. No, it was Kenny King drawing the crowd. Bill Elko, the first to get there for San Diego after a 1-yard gain. So here's where a defense much maligned and certainly much abused by the opposition needs to come up with a big play.
Well, their numbers, I'm afraid, reflect the fact that they have not played well during the season. I think they've probably had their best day of the season so far here today, and yet they still have given up large chunks of yardage, and they don't want to give up any more. They need to make a stand here.
3rd turnover for the Raiders inside the San Diego 20. Wilson looking for 6. It's Marcus Allen. And had he caught it, would have been out of bounds. Coverage by Ken Green, number 28. Green from Washington State, part of the G-men, Green and Greger. But Bob Greger, one of the men injured last week, probably out for the season. Andre Young's been hurt. Miles McPherson hurt. Danny Walters was hurt last week. So those deep defensive backs don't want to put a uniform on a player and put him in that position because they've been racked by injuries.
Continuing story, the Chargers really over the last few seasons have had horrible injury problems with their defensive secondary.
Third and call it a short 10. Big play. Allen on a draw play. Interesting call, and it did not fool the Chargers. Billy Ray Smith has had a big game at that inside linebacker position. Veteran Woodrow Lowe also in on the tackle. So at the 15, Barr will try another field goal.
Barr kicking the last opportunity straight true. It certainly has to make him feel better after getting a couple of hooks earlier on kicks, one of which pulled left and another on an extra point, almost missing the mark.
33-yard attempt. David Humm to hold. And right down the middle again is Barr. So the Los Angeles Raiders taking advantage of fumbleitis by the Chargers now have built their lead to 27-20. In World War II, Don Coryell celebrated his 60th birthday earlier this week. We asked him, how'd you celebrate? He said, oh, I had breakfast in bed. I said, what was that? He said, it was an apple with a candle in it. And then he went to work. Chargers, James fumbles that one, and they'll take the touchback. Now the Raiders taking advantage of some loose play by San Diego, scoring 20 unanswered points, lead 27-20. Dan Fouts will try to rally his troops when we return. 284 now in his 16th year in the NFL. Playing at right tackle after working at guard all of his career. He's been moved outside as a 37-year-old. First down, Chargers at their 20-yard line. Trailing 27-20. By Brad Van Pelt, and Van Pelt takes it to the 19.
And what a way to begin your career in a Raider uniform, as he was literally handed that football. He's going to fit in a hurry. They drop back. They want him basically to play the running game. But of course he doesn't have a choice. As Fouts dropped back to pass, he dropped back into pass coverage. And the ball popped loose out of the receiver's hands. Well, see for yourself. Number 91. Van Pelt, the ball through the receiver's hands right there and right into the hands of number 91 Van Pelt. He knew which way the goal line was and headed that direction, and that's the third costly turnover right here, back to back to back.
Van Pelt's 19th career interception, first as a Raider at the 20. Wilson will try to strike quickly. He's hit, and it'll go incomplete. Good pressure by Mike Green. Oh, yes, it was Green coming in on a rare blitz for him. Time of possession. Well, if you fumble and are intercepted on the first play that you get the ball, that means the other team's going to own it.
Well, and the most critical part of that is that those turnovers have put the Raiders in easy range of the goal line almost instantly.
That's the fourth possession at the 20 or closer to the San Diego goal line for the Raiders.
Well, a defense that is having as many problems as these Chargers are, they don't need that kind of help for the Raider offense.
Leading 27-20. Wilson. Touchdown, Jokey Williams. Williams' first touchdown of the season.
Mark Wilson all the way into the end zone to check on the health of Jokey Williams. Williams pulling that ball in, taking a real shot in the end zone, but Wilson settling into his responsibilities as a starting quarterback. Big for a quarterback, 6'6", had no trouble spotting the open man. He had Jokey Williams all the way, and a zipper. Well thrown, well done, 6 points.
Now the try for point by Barr. It's good. So the Raiders trailing 20-7. Scored in the final minute of the first half to make it 20-14, and now I've opened up to 34-20. That's 27 points they've scored in a little over 10 minutes.
That has to be the most explosive offense they've had all year, Dick. Their biggest quarter has always been the fourth quarter. Wilson has got them cranking a little earlier. 21 of 33, 268 yards. He's had an outstanding day. Here it is. He's locked all the way on a single receiver. That's fine if you could throw the ball that crisply.
Now Wilson with 4 touchdown throws. He's had himself a big day. Meanwhile, Jim Plunkett, who did not complete a touchdown pass to a wide receiver in nearly half a season, has seen his replacement, Wilson, hit twice to a wide man for the Raiders. Well, this has been an adventure, and for the Chargers, the fans are saying, stay right there. The Chargers not only have given up the ball on fumbles and pass interceptions in this third quarter, but they've given it up on almost the first play they've had it.
They just have not had an opportunity to keep their offense on the field, and the Raiders, doing what they have to do, have taken advantage of those miscues and pounced on them and put the ball in the end zone. Fouts has got to get going the other direction. These Chargers need some offense at this moment.
Well, they've got the tools. It's a matter of hanging on to the ball. Jets, meanwhile, go into the fourth quarter with a 21-0 lead at home against Kansas City. Duckworth replacing the injured Wes Chandler. The throw to Duckworth, and that one was almost intercepted. I don't think he was looking for the ball, and Lester Hayes able to reach in and knock it away.
Covering for the Raiders.
Wonderful reactions by Lester Hayes at the final second as he just reached over the shoulder. Look at this. Just reaches in, taps that football away. I believe Duckworth would have caught the football had Hayes not knocked it off. And that, again, that has to be perfect timing. If he arrives a second too soon, he's called for roughing the receiver, and there'll be a first down at that point.
Draw play to Jackson, hit in the backfield. Able to get 5 yards out of it before Jeff Barnes can topple him. Well, 4 San Diego turnovers, all at the 20-yard line or closer to the Charger goal, at equal 24 points for the Raiders, and the lead now 34-20. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the San Diego Chargers and the National Football League is prohibited. 3rd and 5. In a crowd, look at that, Winslow, what a play! What a catch by Kellen Winslow, one-handed, with a defender, McKinney, draped all over him.
Sheer determination. McKinney grabbing Winslow's arms, fighting with him for the football, and Winslow would not give up on that football. Fouts getting good protection. White holding out Townsend on the bottom, but watch the catch. The ball bounces away. Winslow gets it on the tip of his fingers and sucks it back in. What a play.
At the 36. Fouts going long, and Holohan not tall enough to grab that one. Winslow, remember, was disenchanted early in the year and missed a game when he went home. And that's playing, he's played instead of the 8 games, this being the 8th, only 7, and yet with 5 catches today has 51. Anything near him, he really has the meat hooks. What a talent.
You have to understand that the Raiders know how valuable he is to this offense. They're double covering him on most every play.
Trailing 34-20 with 2.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Winslow in motion. And Fouts in trouble. And boy, close to fumbling again as Lyle Alzado was going for Fouts. And the ball all in one big motion. Those big arms of Alzado ready to rip it away.
Townsend coming from the opposite side, working on Ed White, and Ed has to be getting a little tired. He's had a couple of weeks off because of an injury. As you look at Lyle Alzado, and White working not only on Howie Long, but they moved Townsend in there. They're double teaming on him. He's got his hands full.
wonder if he's still sucking on those emotional popsicles that Alcedo likes. He said he's gone in his aging years from orange to bran. He likes the bran flavor.
I asked him if he was going to change his style after those penalties. He said, nope, I can only do it one way.
3rd and 16. Fouts to Winslow. And another first down on 3rd down at the Raider 49. McElroy made the tackle. Another outstanding catch by Winslow. 21 yards.
Gellin's going to make it happen. Fouts gets time to throw here. Howie Long thrown down by Doug Wilkerson, big number 63. But that is an excellent play. And again, you see the timing. That magic timing between quarterback and receiver. The ball thrown on the cut. Gellin was there to pick it up.
Ernest Jackson stumbling forward for a yard to the 48 and down by 55. Matt Millen.
They sodded the field here after the World Series ended, and they just did that, in fact, the middle of this last week, and it's held up remarkably well. Usually that new sod will tear up repeatedly. It has not done that. They played a game here last night as well, and our congratulations to Bill Wilson and his crew who done such a good job of getting this field prepared. There you can see some of the new sod along the edge of the field.
Charlie Joyner will get to catch the pass. He's out to the right. There's Holohan and a first down at the 35. A flag is down in the secondary of the Raiders.
Mike Davis working aggressively. Hard to tell what to call. A call could go either way. Let's see what they do with it.
Might have been a pick by one of the Charger receivers. Apparently it's against the Raiders, judging from Fouts' reaction.
Holding, 36 defense, penalty is declined, it's first down.
Mike Davis couldn't stop Holohan even with the hold as Holohan speared the throw from Fouts.
Chance to watch the end of the play. Mike Davis trying to recover as Holohan had gotten away from it, made the catch, ball rolls out of bounds. Of course, possession maintained by the Chargers on that play. They're moving the ball, Dick.
They are indeed trailing by 2 touchdowns. They need a score to get back in it. Joyner, or was that Duckworth? Lester Hayes broke it up as Duckworth hammered as he went for the ball. Let's go to New York and check on other action today.
All right, Dick, at Giant Stadium, the Chiefs have finally scored against the Jets, who are trying to go 6-2. Kansas City's only sustained drive of the day so far. Bill Kinney finds Ken Lacey a touchdown pass of 7 yards, but it is still 21-7. The Jets lead it in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Bill, Jets have had trouble holding on to some leads this year. Kansas City trying to rally, as are the Chargers here in San Diego, trailing 34-20. Second down and 10. Final seconds, third quarter. Complete to Holohan. And the big guy from Notre Dame rumbles to about the 27 before McKinney and Martin can make the tackle. That's probably the last play of this quarter.
A few words exchanged between Rod Martin and Pete Holohan, and then Martin turned to say a few things to the Chargers sideline.
It'll be about an 8-yard pickup for Holohan. Third down and 2. Final seconds tick off in the gun. The end of the third quarter in San Diego. The Los Angeles Raiders with a big third period thanks to turnovers. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Dick Enberg, Merlin Olsen, and the San Diego Charger Tamp Man working on that new side. Trying to replace a divot. San Diego with a miserable third quarter as the Raiders took advantage of every mistake. Trailing 34-20 as we open this fourth quarter. Fouts looking at 3rd and 2. Ernest Jackson blasting through for a first down at the 22. Doug Wilkerson, the veteran of 15 years at guard for San Diego, says this man Jackson hits a hole faster than any back that he's ever blocked for.
Jackson certainly hit it fast enough on that occasion as he not only made the first down but some extra yardage as well. Ball placed down and just nose up on the 21-yard line. First and 10. Fouts and his offensive troops getting their first chance really to show. They spent most of the first part of the second half and most of the third quarter on the bench.
Fouts calls time. Didn't like what he saw.
Their first team timeout.
10. He's only got 10 players on the field, I think, Dick. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Nope.
Wes Chandler's injury perhaps creating that confusion. So with a timeout, we'll break for this important word. Points not enough to win the first game. 63 points scored in that one. Let's see. 34-20, 54. San Diego's marching.
San Diego down there where they could do it again, and certainly Fouts needs to get some points on the board here because the Raiders have been very tough in the fourth quarter. That's been their best quarter on the season offensively, and it's been the least successful quarter for that San Diego defense during this season as well. So Fouts needs to put some points on the board right here at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
First down at the 21. Throwing for Holohan or for Winslow, and a flag down. We're going to have a hold against Mike Davis. Fouts throwing from a crowd.
Fouts taking a dangerous amount of time against a good Raider rush to get that ball in the air. I think the question might have been asked, was that ball a catchable ball? Because the flag was a late one, and you see Mike Davis shaking his head, saying it wasn't me, but Kellen Winslow has made some incredible plays here in this second half, and that's
illegal contact, 36 defense, first down.
So it's an automatic first down, a 5-yard penalty, not interference, which would have given the Chargers the ball inside the 5. You say a catchable ball, if it's thrown to Winslow, automatically it's catchable. No matter, as long as it's in the stadium, you've got to figure he'll get it.
6'6" and a reach that has to be, what, 39 inches, Dick? He'll go up and suck it down from way up on top.
I love the fact he still credits Mama making him wash dishes. He says, I got soft hands from washing all those dishes back near St. Louis. First down, Chargers, outside the 15. Blitz, McKinney, and incomplete the pass. McKinney, who got Fouts in the first half on a defensive back blitz, almost takes him again.
McKinney just bulldogging Fouts, went right over the top of him, couldn't keep a hold as Fouts able to roll himself back underneath. He was hit as he delivered the ball, and the ball fell harmlessly to the ground, but it'll be a 2nd and 10 instead of about the 2nd 15. McKinney coming from the bottom of your screen. He'll go right over the top, and Fouts recovers in time to throw the football.
13th play of the drive to give to Jackson. And he has 5 yards to the 11-yard line. Alzado and Piquel made the stop. They don't need a field goal here.
They need the 7 points. 2 tight ends coming into the ball game. You see the signs and signals coming. Some rather creative signals there. Did you understand that one, Dick?
No, I'm not sure I did. He may have been saying that Alan Trammell was a San Diego native, the most valuable player in the World Series. So while the Padres didn't win the baseball championship, one of their own did get the MVP honors.
I think we'll see the ball in the air here.
2nd and 5, 3rd and 5. Way over Winslow's head as Fouts had to unload as Lyle Alzado was on him again.
Sam Clappin, we had mentioned it earlier, embarrassed on a couple of occasions last week by Mike Bell. In this particular ball game, it's been Alzado who has been giving Clappin more than he could care for and taking it out on Dan Fouts, and they are going to go for the field goal with Benny Ricardo.
Here's Fouts under extreme pressure. He tried to find Winslow, just had no chance. Ricardo will try a 29-yard attempt. Ooh, a bad snap again, and Ricardo hits it through. Luther with a good job of catching that snap, but 3 points is not what Fouts was seeking. He has to settle for it. It's 34-23. For the Raiders, 3 turnovers leading to that possession time, 106 yards to 18, as the Raiders scored 20 points to none for San Diego. And now the Chargers a long drive to get only a field goal. 11-point lead for the defending Super Bowl champions. Ricardo kicks it off. Montgomery. Good speed, 25-30. And Ricardo is able to block him down across the 40-yard line. Good run by Montgomery.
Steve Ortmeyer, the special teams coach for the Raiders, said it very simply. He said, we love a kicker that puts the ball down about the 5-yard line. Sometimes they're kicked too short and sometimes too long. But Benny Ricardo kicks a returnable ball, and you've seen it today.
Not only short, he doesn't get a great deal of height.
Not a great deal of hang time. And, of course, the Raiders able to capitalize on that during this afternoon.
34-23. 13:07, not 3:07, but 13:07 left. Little dazzle to Kenny King. Ooh, hit down after a 4-yard gain at the 45-yard line. Let's go to New York. NFL 84.
All right, Dick, at Giant Stadium, Pat Ryan continues to show poise. Here he reads the safety blitz, finds Cedric Minter up the right sideline. The Jets use 7 minutes of the clock in this drive, so with 6.5 minutes left, the Jets lead Kansas City 28-7.
And the Jets with his wholesale changes, and they're going to be 6-2 apparently at the halfway mark this year. 2nd and 6 for Wilson. Dumps it out to Marcus Allen. Out of bounds at the 48 or 9-yard line. Let's see where they mark it at the 49. 2 yards shy of a first down.
It's like a long handoff. Marcus Allen, the release man. Mark Wilson not able to find anybody downfield, just flips it out there. Of course, Marcus likes it when he can get into the secondary with not many people around. An important down here for the Charger defense. They need to get the ball back for Fouts and his offensive crew. And of course, Mark Wilson is thinking possession, grind it out, keep the clock.
Wide open is Barnwell, and he's going to go. Billy Ray Smith can't catch him, and Barnwell has a touchdown. And for Mark Wilson, that is 5 touchdown passes.
4 was his most career for one game, and he now has his 5th of the day as the Charger defense on a critical down gambled with the blitz. Wilson able to get time as the Raiders did a good job of picking it up. And when you single up defensive backs who have had as little time working together as these Charger backs have, you're asking for real trouble. Barnwell took advantage of it, and in spite of a tremendous last gasp effort by Billy Ray Smith, who dove at his heels, he put it in the end zone.
Barr adds the extra point. And the Raiders, with 12 minutes and 13 seconds left in the game, have built their lead now to 41-23 as Barnwell's got 2 catches today, one for 46 yards and one for 51 yards.
Let's credit those Raiders in the offensive line and the backfield for the job they did of protection. Now look at the stretching run by Billy Ray Smith. Unfortunately, he didn't make it in time.
23, the Los Angeles Raiders in the lead, and Barr to kick it off with 12 minutes left in the game. James and McGee are deep. Now, in contrast to Ricardo's kicks, this one much higher and somewhat deeper. The 10, Buford McGee. 20, 30, and to the 33, a good return. Mark Wilson with 5 touchdown passes today. In case you were wondering, the Raider record touchdown passes in a game, 6. Tom Flores, the coach of the Raiders, threw 6 against Houston in '63, and the Mad Bomber Darryl LaMonica fired 6 against Buffalo in 1969. Wilson, in fact, today with 5 touchdowns, has thrown more in 3 quarters than Jim Plunkett had all year. Allen recently tied club record for TDs in game 4. Art Powell scored 4 touchdowns in '63. Just to bring you up to date on the various records. This 84 edition of the Raiders are trying to erase or reestablish. And on that day, apparently was the same day that Flores threw his 6 touchdown passes.
Set his own record on that particular afternoon. Well, he's got to be happy about the way his Raiders have come out here in the second half. They've taken the ball away. It's been a day of great field position. There's a yellow flag down on the field, and that will be going against
Greg Townsend with a personal foul.
That's the first of this ball game. That's a marked improvement for the Raiders, who suffered so many penalties last week. As we mentioned, 30 penalties in the past 2 weeks against the Raiders, and 5 in the first half last week were personal fouls. That's the first on the day. That's a lot better. Not perfect, but a lot better.
11:58 left. Plenty of work to be done for Fouts and the Chargers, but if any offense has the style to get points quickly, it's a San Diego club. There's Joyner's first catch of the game. Charlie Joyner, tackled by Jeff Barnes, close to a first down at the 30-yard line. 26th catch of the year for Joyner. 28-7, the Jets leading Kansas City in the final period. And the other late game, San Francisco 27-14 against the Oilers. Later tonight, Dallas and New Orleans.
Fouts apparently was going to go without a huddle on that play, and an interested spectator, more than a spectator, Al Davis, managing partner of the Raiders, was in the middle of your screen momentarily.
Fouts trying to get away from Alzado. He doesn't want to run it. Boy, he throws it, and Fouts decked as he delivered that one. You know, he is as courageous a quarterback as you'll find. He just asks for trouble. He waits to the last minute. He won't give in. He wouldn't run it out of bounds, hoping to the last second he might find an open man.
Fouts watching a little battle there between Sam Clappin and Lyle Alzado. Alzado's been tormenting him all day, but it's the shot right there that leveled him. That's Mike Davis. Safety coming up, and he just puts the helmet in the shoulder. Fouts' feet almost got as high as his head on that play. He's right back in the huddle. He is tough. That's how you measure a quarterback. How long he'll hang on to that football when he knows he's going to get hit. Fouts will say, hey, I'm going to take it again. Same thing will happen here. If he has to do it, he'll do it.
Fouts with 261 yards. He's the all-time record holder for 300-yard games, 38 times.
Drop. Ooh, it's going to be close.
Jackson stopped inside the 30 at the 29. It appears he does have the first down. Rod Martin, 53, led the defensive charge. Clock running, though, 10:40 remaining. Martin arguing that they were generous in the spotting of the ball. It is a first down. All right, the finals today. Miami is 8-0, winning at New England. 2-point win final. Fouts wants it all, goes down to Joyner, and he was tripped up in a flag against McKinney. I believe Joyner had a touchdown had he not tripped or been tripped.
Looked like McKinney may have stepped on the back of his leg as he was trying to get into position himself. Joyner, the old pro, has been shut out going into today. Hard to see. We're going right into the shadow, but McKinney definitely across the back of his legs. The officials will mark it at the spot of the foul, which is going to be apparently right at about the 5-yard line.
Pass interference. Number 23 defense. First down.
Otis McKinney, really the 5th defensive back, has seen a lot of action today as the Chargers have been throwing the football so much. They call it the pirate defense. When they put 6 defensive backs in, that becomes the bandit defense.
10:15 left, first and goal. Fouts looking for 6. There it is. Touchdown, Winslow. Flag is down.
We may have offensive interference on that play. McElroy claiming that he was interfered with by Winslow. Some very physical patterns run by the Chargers, but I believe that they're going to give the touchdown to the Chargers on this occasion.
Defensive pass interference. 26. Penalties refused. Touchdown.
Van McElroy, 26, charged with interference.
Take a peek at it yourselves as, well, we'll see the pass. We won't see the interference on this play. But McElroy is going one-on-one down in that end zone with Kellen Winslow, and he was the man charged with the foul.
Winslow's 7th catch of the day, the 5-yard touchdown. Ricardo hits the extra point, and it's an 11, 41-30. One of the better kicks for Ricardo. Here comes Montgomery. Oh, he's a defiant sort of return man, isn't he? And that's what you have to have. Willing to run full speed right at that defense, and he's hit at the 30-yard line.
Mark, a reckless sellout kind of runner, Dick.
Who's the best you ever saw at that? Alvin Heyman, he was one of the better ones, your old teammate.
He was one of the crazier ones, I'll tell you that. That number you saw on the screen, 151, the time of that drive, very important. Shows you how quickly the Chargers can move the ball. Right now, they need the football. The Raiders got a high percentage of their points. In fact, all of their points in the third quarter off turnovers. The Chargers would like to do the same here.
Hawkins and Allen behind Wilson. It's Marcus Allen up the middle. Good yardage to the 36, a gain of 6. Bill Elko leading the defensive charge. That's how the game has developed. It was 20-7 in the final minute when Mark Wilson hit Barnwell on a 46-yard touchdown to close the gap to 2014. Then that big 20 points in the third period, all the result of turnovers.
And field position. They have the ball down close.
4 times the Raiders getting the ball on a turnover at the San Diego 20 or closer. And Wilson, 5 touchdowns, a big day. Allen spinning away is shy of the first down.
Good defensive play. This defense is charged up. They've had their problems today, and we've documented it a number of times, but you have to credit their enthusiasm and their courage. They have been playing hard, tough, rough football on the field. They've given up a lot of yardage, but they've been in some awkward positions, as you indicated.
There's the defensive coordinator, Tom Bass. Most yards allowed, second only to Houston in the entire NFL. They've given up more than that yardage today. 3rd and 2. Frank Hawkins has the first down and more out to the 47-yard line. They were keying on Marcus Allen, and Hawkins at 5'9" and 210 blast for some big yardage.
Marcus Allen is such an important weapon for these Raiders because he becomes a decoy on that play. Pulls literally the entire defensive middle of this line inside. The fake right here. And Marcus actually just diving in, trying to get a little block there. Didn't really get in anybody's road, but made enough room for Hawkins to get to the outside.
Another 4 downs for the Raiders and a chance to eat up that clock. Hawkins, big powerful guy, and that could be a face mask.
Yes.
There it is.
And that's a costly penalty. That probably will be a 15-yarder, I believe, too.
As Hawkins, despite his size, had the speed to be running away from his pursuers, and someone reaching in late might have been Mike Green to grab the face mask.
Now, Green went down early with an ankle injury. Is playing, I'm sure, with some pain and with limited mobility out there. And he is tired. He really is tired. You play an emotional game like this one.
58 defense. First down.
I believe they only gave him the 5-yard penalty rather than the 15. And there's Mike Green. We really can't see it from this angle except to see the head come down and the hand definitely on the mask itself.
That could have been a 15.
I think they could have given it away at 15 because he uses the mask to help make the tackle. And that is flagrant according to the rules. Should have been marked off at 15.
Actually, 2nd down in inches for Wilson, who sends Hawkins through for the easy first down. He may have fumbled, but after the whistle. They had whistled to death.
No, they're not going to give it to him. They're saying it's Raiders football. These fans, the hand that went out pointing in the San Diego direction belonged to one of the San Diego players. That's what they wanted. They wanted the turnover. I'm sure Coryell's heart jumped momentarily. He wants to see his offense on the field, not his defense.
And just what the Raiders ordered, staying on the ground, chewing up the clock, now down to 7.5 minutes as they lead by 11 points, 41-30. Marcus spinning out of the grass. Oh, he's talented. Took 4 or 5 in to finally bring him down after a couple-yard gain. Well, the Chargers scored 30 points in Los Angeles and lost 33-30. They scored 30 again at 60 points against the Raiders and may not come away with a W.
frustrating, but so much more impressive than what they did last week when their offense was just not able to move the ball that effectively against the Kansas City Chiefs. But they've had trouble both weeks with the turnovers. They turned the ball over, and they've got to learn how to hang on to that football, or 30 points will not be enough.
Allen again with a big hole. First down and more to the 22-yard line. Allen over the 100-yard mark rushing today. Perhaps his best day running the football. His big numbers have been receiving. He's now 103 yards.
18 rushes on the day, and good average on the day for him. Marcus Allen, he's a little tired too. You see him looking to the sideline on that play. He'll have plenty of rest, and of course they've got to be pleased at the numbers that are on the board for the Raiders with 41 and 30, and looking at the most important right now, the clock, which is ticking down to 6:11.
Brian Hawkins with a flag down is to the 10-yard line. That'll stop the clock at the 6:06 mark. By the way, for Marcus Allen, it indeed is his first game over the century mark this year. They'll bring that one back, and 10 yards imposed against the Raiders. Now, Hawkins denied a big gain. We welcome those of you who have seen the New York Jets defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 28-7 here in San Diego. A scoring derby, and the Los Angeles Raiders lead 41-30, scoring 20 points in the third quarter, all as a result of turnovers by the Chargers deep in San Diego's end of the field. At one time late in the first half, San Diego owned a 20-7 lead. Dick Enberg, Merlin Olsen, welcome to some bonus coverage for you folks in the East. Mark Wilson has 5 touchdown passes for the Raiders today, one shy of the Raider record. Wilson looked like a blown play, and he's down at the 30. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen, 5:55 remaining in this game. San Diego showing its strength early. Ernest Jansen, a couple of touchdown runs, led 20-7, and then in the final minute of the first half, Wilson hit Malcolm Barnwell on a 45-yard hook and go to make it 20-14. Then 20 unanswered points in the third quarter as the Raiders ran up a 34-20 lead, and Wilson hit Barnwell again, a long touchdown, 51 yards here in the fourth quarter. Fouts has just scored on a pass to Winslow to make it 41-30. Here's Hawkins. Shirt-tailed down by Mike Green at the 25-yard line as the Raiders staying on the ground. They've eaten about 5 minutes off that clock on this drive.
Chris Barr on the far sideline started to head onto the field until someone grabbed him, realizing it was third down and not fourth. Of course, the 3 points here, not that critical anyway. You need more than a field goal and a touchdown, although a field goal here would tie you with 2 touchdowns, so it is indeed important.
Benny Ricardo missed an extra point in the first half that may yet be critical. Wilson looking for his 6th touchdown of the game. Instead goes underneath to Christensen, and he is shy of the first down, I believe, by a yard or 2.
Now, a question here, do you go for it on 4th down? They're very close to that yard marker, maybe a yard and a half away. The Raiders 4 for 4 so far on 4th down attempts. Will indeed go for the 3 as Hum and Barr come onto the field.
Chris Barr, who missed on his first field goal attempt at 38 yards, but has connected twice since, 42 and 33 yards away, and this one will be another 33-yard attempt. David Hum to hold. Clock running, 4:02, 4:01, 4 minutes left. Barr is
no good.
It is good. It hooked through.
Whoa, just barely.
So Barr 3. That's the last 4 years in the NFL. The Chargers about to get the ball. They need 2 touchdowns and have less than 4 minutes to get it. Lionel James, who has fumbled on a kickoff return, breaks out of the pack and takes it to the 32-yard line. 5'6" Lionel James of the Chargers from Auburn University.
Ball deliberately kicked on the ground, pardon me, Dick, as they tried to corral him down there, but the Chargers did a good job of getting field position for their quarterback Fouts. They're going to be outside the 30.
There's Wilson's numbers, 67%, 24 of 36, 332 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Here's a fella been sitting patiently, waiting for his chance behind Plunkett, an outstanding player. Well, he was picked in the first round out of BYU in '80. Now it's Dan Fouts trying to move the Chargers quickly. He's without his speediest receiver. Wes Chandler was injured as he caught a 22-yard touchdown pass in the first half. Knee injury, and it's not returned. Winslow with still another catch and a first down at the 44-yard line.
I think Winslow may be hurt. He took a shot right on his right knee as he caught that football, and he looks like he's hurt, Dick.
Oh, my.
With Chandler already in the locker room, he has excellent flexibility. He's a strong athlete. Perhaps that leg will bend and rebound.
Fouts dumping it off, complete to Jackson, 45-50, but a flag is down, 40, and out of bounds goes Jackson at the 30-yard line.
I'm afraid.
That's going to be called back. It was thrown in the line. Nullifying a 26-yard play. Well executed. They delayed Jackson. The wide receivers clearing deep. San Francisco has won again. They're 7-1. Houston gave them a battle, 34-21. And the Jets have won as well.
63 offense. First down.
Doug Wilkerson, the veteran from North Carolina Central.
A shame in a way that the only recognition we often give our offensive linemen is the credit for a foul in a situation like that. Those guys are working themselves into a frenzy on the line of scrimmage, and it's a tough and thankless job when you're going against a defensive line like the Raiders have out there.
Fouts under pressure. Completes it to Joyner at the 50-yard line, but that'll be short of the first down. Mike Davis made the tackle. Joyner now 27 receptions away from becoming the NFL's all-time receiving leader.
Fouts already in his 2-minute offense.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns down. He can't afford to waste a second. Eludes Howie Long and then throws it away.
Howie can't believe that Dan Fouts got away from him. Toward the end of my career, I had a chance to rush Fouts a number of times. He was one of the few quarterbacks that I thought I could run with. And I don't think he's as fast now as he was then, but he got away very effectively. They're concerned about, obviously, about Kellen Winslow's knee, and they'll do some x-raying in the locker room. We certainly hope that that is not a serious injury. That would be a real blow to this offensive unit.
Well, into the NFL, one of the true
superstar. A real superstar there.
Ball at the 49, 3rd and 5 for Fouts. 2:45 left. Fouts guns it. Duckworth still on his feet, and he has a touchdown.
Well, we have had an offensive show. 74 points on the day, with 2 touchdowns needed to put him back into a tie. He gets a great play for Bobby Duckworth as 2 defenders, McElroy and Lester Hayes, run into each other, and Bobby Duckworth does a pirouette and waltzes into the end zone.
He's their big play man. He had 11 catches, averaging over 27 yards per catch, and today, 1 catch, 50 yards, and a touchdown. That's 81 points if the extra point is good. He missed one in the first half, did Ricardo? That connects on that one, and so with 2:36 left, it's a 1-touchdown game. You have to feel a little sorry for the fans, say, of Cincinnati and Cleveland. They waited through 60 minutes and didn't see 1 touchdown. And here, a glut, a touchdown glut in San Diego.
You sense, too, the excitement of playing football on a football-perfect afternoon. No wind, no storm, no ice, no snow, and both these teams have responded well offensively.
Rolf Bernerska, who had kidney stone surgery a week and a half ago, missed last week, this week, and hopes to be back next week. And Ricardo signed to replace him. Ricardo at one time with the Chargers.
I asked him if he's his own doctor now. He said, no, but I know quite a bit about this body of mine. He had onside kick. The Chargers moving a heavy number of people to the right. Let's see what Ricardo does. There it is.
And it's covered beautifully by the Raiders. Van McElroy jumping in there, got the high bounce and squeezes it at the 44-yard line of San Diego.
And I've got to believe that that's a place that you would miss a regular kicker who's had a chance to work on the timing of that kick time and time again.
There's the numbers. Fouts with 3 touchdown passes, but Wilson with 5. Fouts over the 300 mark again. That for him is the 39th time. Second to him all time in the NFL is Unitas, 26. So he's all by himself in the big passing games. Of course, he's got a big passing offense. Now it's a defense, next to last in the league, trying to stop Wilson. They can't afford really even one first down. Kenny King plowing forward for a couple. Will they use one timeout here? 2:24, yes.
Yes, they will. John Turner calling a timeout, and you saw King going into that lockup with both hands on the football. The philosophy for the Chargers, they tried to hold him up and strip the football loose. You'll have a chance to see that as we dive in on the action. Watch them as they grab King. They'll hold him up. They don't want him to go to the ground. They're holding him up, and you see them going in after that football right there, trying to strip it loose. Woody Lowe, number 51, holding King up and finally realizing that they weren't going to get the football, taking him to the ground.
Fouts was forced to use a timeout earlier in this half when he had only 10 men on the field, so that means the Chargers have only 1 left. Not 2, but 1 timeout left.
10 men on the field, reminiscent of what happened to them last week on a critical touchdown last week. They only had 10 men on the field, and a numbers game. In the game against the Raiders earlier, they had the Raiders had 12 men defensively on a critical play when the Chargers were intercepted, and that really ended the ball game, or came virtually to the end of the ball game for Fouts and company.
Well, that was the play where Chuck Weber, the assistant coach, ran out on the field counting 12 and got a 15-yard penalty.
He said it's the first time he's done that in 29 years of football, but he was angry because they didn't count and didn't see that there were, and the film substantiated the fact that there were indeed 12 defensive players on the field for the Raiders. They're toughing up with 11, Dick.
Mark Wilson perhaps talking about, should we gamble on a pass? Obviously, the Chargers are daring the Raiders to pass. They're going to try to stack up the run. 2:22 left in the crowd. Those that have stayed here at San Diego Stadium trying to exhort the defense. Marcus Allen, he's had a big day, over 100 yards, down at the 39. Time again called. So they're going to use that 2-minute timeout as their 4th timeout in this sequence. That's all left for the Chargers. But if they do stop the Raiders here, then the 2-minute clock can make it interesting for the San Diego fans.
There's a lot of time left in this ball game for Dan Fouts, who uses the clock so well with or without timeouts.
But without Wes Chandler and Kellen Winslow.
He does not have the main troops on the field, but he's got a lot of weapons in spite of that, Dick.
There, for those of you who have not been with us throughout this afternoon and later afternoon in San Diego, it was 20-7 just before the half when Wilson hit Barnwell to make it 20-14. Then the 20 points in the third quarter, really the story of the game. The Chargers fumbled twice and were intercepted all within the 20-yard line, their own 20, and the Raiders obviously took quick advantage, had a couple of field goals and 2 touchdowns for that 20 points. Raiders, another 10 here. The Chargers trying to rally from 2 touchdowns down, and here we have 3rd and 5.
That's a chant we haven't heard here in San Diego for a while. They're chanting for the defense.
Many of these same fans who cheered the San Diego Padres from behind against the Cubs to get in the World Series. Wilson hit as he was throwing, and the ball flops incomplete. And indeed, the Charger defense came through.
Woody Lowe and the Chargers gambled again with the blitz. Woody Lowe coming from the right-hand side, able to get a hand on Wilson as he started that throwing motion. The ball went awry.
2 minutes and 12 seconds left. They're out of field goal range. Ray Guy has punted only once the entire game. That gives you the idea of how this game has gone back and forth. So Dan Fouts apparently will have a chance, although no timeouts.
Oh, you don't want to be offsides here. Get back. You don't want to be offsides.
Guy aiming for the sidelines, hits it. We'll see how well. They'll mark it at the 15-16-yard line. Guy not happy with that. 84 yards away from a tie. Dan Fouts has 2:06 remaining to accomplish what would be a rather remarkable comeback even for a Charger high-powered offense. Listen to this crowd.
Some of the fans who left this stadium are probably fighting their way to try and get back in, Dick.
Yeah, they might have been guilty of giving up when it was 41-23. Chargers came back to score on a Winslow touchdown. Wide open is Holohan, but hit down at the 21, and the 2-minute timeout is taken exactly at the 2-minute mark. Rod Martin with the tackle. So 120 precious seconds left. Maybe we'll have right here a fantastic finish.
Alcoa presents Fantastic Finishes. 1978, John Madden's Raiders trail the Chargers by 6 with time for only one more play. Ken Stabler drops back. He's blitzed from the right. In what has become known as the Holy Roller, he fumbles the ball forward. It is miraculously bobbled and bounced into the end zone, where Dave Casper falls on it for a touchdown. The Raiders win 21-20 on the game's final play.
We're tuning in to see Silver Spoons. Will not be seen tonight due to the length of this game, but we know you'll be watching next Sunday night. Punky Brewster, then the presidential debate. World premiere movie later on NBC. Dan Fouts trying to write his own script. 2nd down and 4 from the 20. He does not have any timeouts. He goes down the middle anyway. 1st down at the 33. The Chargers have to hurry up.
Chargers will align as quickly as possible. Fouts already calling the play. He'll get them moving as quickly as he can. 144.
Dumps it to Lionel James. James breaks a tackle, and he's down the sidelines and out of bounds at the 36-yard line. And there's going to be a penalty on the Raiders for a late hit. James' 3rd reception of the year, plus a 15-yard penalty. And look what we have here.
Personal foul. Number 26 defense. 1st down.
This is the kind of situation that the Raiders have been in several times, coming from behind in the late part of the game to win. But now they're in danger of seeing this ball game tied as Fouts and company are encamped on the 21-yard line.
Down 41-23 earlier in the 4th quarter. The Chargers trying to rally and tie at 44. 1st down at the 22. Fouts without Winslow and without Chandler. Going deep for Holohan. Intercepted and dropped by McKinney. He had a sure interception.
Holohan doing everything he could to try and keep McKinney from hanging on to that football, but the Fouts Express dodges a bullet here. McKinney coming straight at you, has the edge on this ball. You see him going up and getting his hands on it. And I think what Holohan did is kind of jerked him back toward the ground. He couldn't quite maintain contact with the football.
2nd and 10. unusually reliable Charlie Joyner, the veteran, unable to wrestle it away from Lester Hayes at about the 7-yard line.
Charlie working solo one-on-one, and there comes Holohan off the field. I'm sure we'll see Eric Sievers, but oh, what a costly day.
Wes Chandler caught a 22-yard touchdown pass, injured, knee out for the rest of the game, maybe longer. Kellen Winslow, 9th catch of this game. He went out with a knee injury. Now Holohan limping off. So Fouts working with a makeshift receiving crew is 3rd and 10 at the 21. Fumbling out of bounds at the 2-yard line was the rookie Jesse Vendros. He had a touchdown and fumbled it out of bounds.
I think he was so excited, Dick, that he couldn't believe it. He had the TD. He spun. He lost control of the football. Jesse James Vendros almost stealing this football out of the hands of Lester Hayes. Look at it right there. Simply dropped the football out of bounds. The ball just outside the 2-yard line. 1 minute and 16 seconds on the clock. Plenty of time here. You see the signals going in from Dave Levy and the intensity of Don Coryell behind him.
And the composure of Flores, the mastermind of the Raiders. His team has scored 41 points and is in jeopardy of being tied. Fouts over the 400-yard mark as he tries to rally. They get 411 yards.
They move the ball back to the 3 now, Dick.
57 seconds. The clock is running. Ernest Jackson, touchdown! A flag is down. A flag is down.
Lester Hayes is signaling that the penalty is against the Chargers.
Oh, that would be heartbreaking for Coryell and this Charger crew as Jackson went in the end zone.
85 offense!
And I believe the way it was thrown, it was way out away from the play. It had nothing to do with the play itself.
Stevers, 85, was way out on this end and called for holding, denying a possible tying touchdown. 50 seconds left.
Oh, what drama. We're coming down to the end.
85 offense, first down.
What a great call, knowing they had time to rehuddle and at least throw an incomplete pass to stop the clock. They caught the Raiders looking pass, and Jackson shot into the end zone.
Jackson did a fine job, and again, cutting against the grain. He's done that very effectively, starting outside and working inside. Fouts almost forced again here because of the clock to go to the air.
41, 44, 37 to score, 50 seconds left. First and goal for Fouts. Intercepted by Ted Watts. Intended for Charlie Joyner. And the Raiders hold off the Charger bid when a tying touchdown was denied by a holding call.
And what a sad end to such a great comeback by the San Diego Chargers. And Dan Fouts very angry as he raced down toward the officials to have his say, but the Raiders will get the ball. They'll get it out on the 20-yard line.
So the final turnover by Fouts and the Chargers spells their doom. And how difficult it must be to resolve the fact that you score 30 points in one game and lose to the Raiders. You come back and you score 37 in the next, and that isn't good enough to win.
Well, not only 37, but you have another touchdown called back in the final seconds. And that one, obviously, the one that would have made it a tied ball game.
So the Raiders will go 7-1, will be tied with the Denver Broncos for first place in the AFC West. And the Chargers fall to 4-4. And more importantly, when they lick their wounds, they'll find out who is ready to play. Will they be with Chandler and Winslow next week?
Of course, next week, the showdown between the Raiders and the Broncos in Los Angeles. A repeat of that losing effort by the Raiders up in Denver that we saw a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we'll be there next Sunday in the Coliseum, and I'm sure a huge crowd in Los Angeles. Larry Cirillo, our producer, Ted Nathanson, our director, and our thanks to all our crew here at NBC. Joe Costanza, our statistician, Jim Casey, Dan Sexton, Tim Sexton for their help. Don Coryell. A tough loss for the 7-year coach of the Chargers. And Dan Fouts, a remarkable try. He had the tying touchdown. The penalty took it back. And Mark Wilson, 5 touchdown passes to lead the Raiders to victory.
Fouts, not only an emotional competitor, but wanted this game. He wanted it bad.
All the scores will bring you up to date, all the finals, and we'll talk with Mark Wilson when we return to San Diego after this.
Bob Costas back at our NFL 84 studios in New York. Briefly, one more time through the scores before we say so.